I love Mike Hanson Archives.
Are you ready to run?
Austin, Texas, and we are back after a extended vacation. We are back on the program, and as some of you know, I have been vacationing here in the great U.S. of A. I think traveling around different cities and states is one of the privileges that the slave masters grant us slaves, so we can continue to work and be good, loyal slaves for their Babylonian empire system. I do, before I start on a little analysis of my vacation, I do want to thank several people over the last few weeks that managed to keep this show going, and I think in peak performance. The first week, first I want to thank my crew. We had Mike Hanson, the producer, many of you know, and we had Linda was down here and several other people that Mike's sitting over there in the cameras that helped produce the program the last 2 weeks, and I appreciate them. I think we've got the best crew down here in ACTV, and I've said that many times, and I believe that we do. That's just my opinion, of course. That's just the way I feel about it. Secondly, I want to thank George Humphrey and his efforts. He co-hosted the first show on the 23rd of June, along with Galen Ross, and I want to thank Galen as well. And I thought they did an excellent job after reviewing the tapes of the program. They also brought on the different guests. There's Galen, hosted the show on the 23rd and the 30th. And we've also got, like I say, George Humphrey hosted part of the show on the 23rd, and he brought in Bob Larson and John Emery, who's a musician here in Austin, and Ashley Lewis, who is a representative for CAT, Citizens Against an Alternative Tax System. So I want to thank them for coming down and participating on the program on the 23rd. Now on the 30th, we had radio celebrity Joyce Isaacs down here co-hosting the show. There's George and Galen. And we had Joyce Isaacs was here on the 30th, and along with Galen Ross. And also joining them was a woman who wrote the book Texas in the Morning, Madeline Brown from Phoenix, Arizona. I want to thank her for coming down to Austin and appearing on the program. And after reviewing that tape, I thought that was an exceptional show as well. So I just want to extend my appreciation to all the people that helped make this show possible the last 2 weeks. And I do appreciate them and the work that they did, and just the trying to make the show as successful and as entertaining and informative as it could be, and I do appreciate that. Now, while they were down here with the program, I was vacationing, and we actually traveled through 23 states. We either traveled through or stayed in 23 different states, along with Ontario, Canada, in our visit to Niagara Falls. We went to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and several different states and places. A lot of hoteling and that kind of thing. A lot of fun getting away out of Austin for a few weeks. And my mind was completely off what we talk about on this program on a regular basis. However, there were some things that I took notice of immediately, and I didn't even have to look. I wasn't even looking for it. It just seemed to pop in front of me. On our way up to Ohio, my son picked up a cave country tourist guide in Kentucky. If we could get a close-up of this. This is an interesting piece here. That's all right. Right there, Cave Country Tourist Guide. This was in one of the rest areas in Kentucky, the state of Kentucky. Now, as we traveled through here, the gist of the story was, the gist of this particular pamphlet was an old monument that I've attended when I was a young lad, and it's Mammoth Cave National Park. Now, if we can get a close-up of this, we've had a few shows on this before, but this kind of hit me. Mammoth Cave National Park, folks, is now, we can get even a little bit closer on that. That's good. That's perfect. Is now an International Biosphere Reserve, a World Heritage Site. In other words, folks, your parks are being turned over to that great organization called the United Nations, totally unelected by you. It's a kind of a world body of which John D. Rockefeller financed $8 million to set up the UN facility in New York City. But Mammoth Cave, poor old Mammoth Cave, Alex, who's going to be on the show here in just a minute, has been hammered by the International Biosphere Reserve system, and it says right here that in 1994, Mammoth Cave National Park, or now known as an International Biosphere Reserve, was designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, which is a UN environmental type organization. At which time UNESCO designated Mammoth Cave National Park as an International Biosphere Reserve. So that hit me, caught me kind of off guard there, not looking for it on my vacation home. Also, we, in our travels through Akron, Ohio, and different places, we did see some of the same types of towers being set up along the federal highways, the federal funded highways that you see down here in Austin and Houston and some of these other places. So I think that's kind of ironic that they're all setting up the same type of highway systems with surveillance and camera systems all over the place. And we're going to be getting to that here in a little bit as well with some video that we've got. And one of the final things that caught me on my vacation was a friend of mine, an old friend of mine that goes back almost 20 years. Recently had his 40-year-old brother pass away. And he was, I didn't really know what it was. In December, his brother passed away. And basically what it was, as I was talking to him, he was mentioning to me that his brother, he believes his brother died from the Gulf War illness, because he was apparently on the front lines at the time of Desert Storm. And of course, if you're familiar with any of Joyce Riley's findings and some of the things she's talking about, you will see that this whole Desert Storm fiasco was another concoction. But beyond that, up to this point, over 14,000 people that have served in Desert Storm have died mysteriously from symptoms of this Gulf War illness. And this, my friend's brother, just happened to be one of the unfortunate ones. He was a school teacher and whatnot, a very respected school teacher, and my friend, his name was Russ Miner, is actually now studying some of Joyce Riley's tapes and some of the information on this thing. So that hit me pretty well too, and was somewhat depressing due to the fact that I, for one, was against that whole fiasco to begin with, and still many of these people have died now. And just now the U.S. Congress, that traitorous, treasonous Washington District of Criminals, is at least recognizing that this may exist, although it's just going to be a cover-up investigation. We know that. But the fact is that that was the first time that a situation like this personally hit me, personally affected me, was when he mentioned that to me. So, beyond some of the more obvious, what I'd call globalist, slave master type mechanisms being set up and being depicted upon the American people. It was a decent trip, to say the least. And again, I do appreciate all the people that were involved in the last 2 weeks keeping the show going, and that's really all I've got to say, other than I do appreciate it. Now, folks, there's Joyce Riley, by the way. Let me just bring in briefly, and his familiar face here on Access Television. It's nothing wrong to like Access Television. Access Television is fine. It's another forum for people to get their views out. But a familiar face on Access Television and a local radio talk show host here in Austin, Alex Jones, is going to be with us for the rest of the day. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming down on the program.
Oh, you bet. Well, it was fun going out with your producer yesterday and going and talking to the police with video cameras, but just in a nice way at 7-Elevens and at the police station. And none of them wanted to talk because we're supposed to go right to the head bureaucrats and talk, because they pretty much told us we work for the city. Forget this, we don't talk to citizens, only go talk to the head bureaucrats. But it's so hard to talk to the bureaucrats because they're always so busy trying to be good little globalists, good little federalists, so they can all go and join Janet Reno at the Justice Department, like Elizabeth Watson just did for $244,000.
Well, they can go out and violate people. We'll get into a lot of the specifics, but the thing that, after watching the footage that you and Mike put together yesterday, the most obvious thing that come out of that footage, and I hope that it's on here, was that the fact that, well, the mentality of the average public out there. You were asking some.
We did about 80 or 90 interviews, and I got up here so late last night to do the my girlfriend was tired, so we just came up here about 12 midnight and did some quick editing. There's actually about 2 hours of tape that your producer took, so I just real fast edited out about 30 minutes, and I know we'll show that in about 20 or 30 minutes or so, or an hour, or just whenever you want. And it's very, very interesting. First, there's some interviews down on the drag. Then we go to the police department. Then we go film just some camera installations around town, like you talk about how they're putting up these camera and infrared towers.
But we're theorists.
Of course. And it's for our best interest. Yeah, in fact, if I could, and I'm gonna go back to this later.
Let me just mention one thing before you get to that. I want to just first off, folks, I want to for one say that I am not a left wing or a right wing. I have no wings. I have been attacked for being a right-winger that gets his information from right-wing publications.
You're a right-wing extremist.
I have no wings, folks.
Oh, wait, didn't you get this information from Mammoth
Cave
Tourist Guide?
This is from Recreation.
That's definitely right-wing.
Yeah, that's right-wing. And secondly, this idea about where we get our information is straight, mainly from enemy documents. For example, this right here is a classic example of the enemy testing the mentality of the American public.
Now let me ask you a question.
But let me just continue on with this.
Let me play devil's advocate real fast. This is a family brochure. What's wrong with us giving up sovereignty and giving up our national lands to foreign banker control? I don't see a problem. These are these are the same bankers that stole all the Jewish gold and killed all the Jews.
But y'all want to know where we get our information, folks. Right here's a good classic example. Your friendly neighborhood rest area in Kentucky is now publishing
UN documents.
Right, UN documents. And secondly, I also want to mention that for one, I personally get a little, I just not really angry or worn down, but just sick of defending what we're saying here. Folks, quite frankly, if you don't believe what we're saying here, and if you don't want to investigate it, I don't even care whether you believe me or not. I'm not even interested in that anymore. If the question I have to any viewers that doubt that there's a conspiracy, that there is a global conspiracy,
what's a program of control?
Financial oligarchy, prove to me that there isn't one. That's the challenge I make to you. If you believe in all the phony wars we've had, all the debt that's piled up, how we're losing our rights, how hundreds of thousands of people are losing their homes and their cars being seized, millions of people are being violated out on the highways. In fact, in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, Alex, let me just share this one with you. It was told to me that they are now stopping random stops
For our best interest.
Yeah, because to make sure we all have seat belts. Isn't that nice of them?
And they may accidentally find some right-wing literature or something.
Oh yeah. So, but anyway, I want to just mention, folks. So before we get on, we'll take some calls. I'm not up here tonight to defend what I'm saying or trying to convince you, because quite frankly, if you don't want to believe it, if you don't want to investigate it, I don't care. Just go on with your dupe little self, and you can be just like the majority of these people that are going to show up in this video here that you do. You can just act just like them, and that's exactly the way I feel about it anymore.
Well, and right here, I mean, the scary part, Jeff, about the people I talk to, and a lot of them had something to say, but the ones that even had something to say, they don't have a clue. And I used to actually think people thought like I did. I used to think that they understood that government was not rule or love, it was power, raw power, and I didn't even think I was that smart. Now I'm starting to get a pretty high opinion of myself. And I don't mean, no, I'm serious. I mean,
well, so do the slave man.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Well, I'm just trying to say to people out there, it was shocking to me to find out, interviewing 80-something people probably, and there's only 15 or 20 on this, or 10 on this tape, and these are the better ones. I mean, some people would just go, huh, what? They don't even know where Washington, D.C. is.
Yeah.
And hold on, and the people that did have something to say would say, I'd say, well, what do you think about the CFR being on C-SPAN talking about global regimes of power? We're also going to show that later, them talking about that. They would look at me and talk about the future of our CIA. Get this. Now, last night we were talking, and that shocked you. I mean, you already knew it, but it gets even more shocking that they're out in the open now.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Well,
it's a soft soak.
Well, it's a soft soak, but
yeah.
But even the soft soak is them openly deciding, well, how are we going to run the CIA?
And who elected them to run the CIA?
Well, they're a little bit more.
But let me just mention to you, Alex, that some of the people that I saw in this video. Now, really, we shouldn't have gone out and got this video just to make fun of them. Let's face it, that's kind of uncouth. But let's face it, some of these people, you'd ask them a question, what do you think about the Federal Reserve? And they'd say, huh? Well, I don't know. And you'd say, well, do you think it's good that the private bankers, behind the scenes are running things in secret? Yeah, I guess that's okay.
They actually said, and then this one guy, this one UT professor,
now, we shouldn't be
this one UT professor, because I talked to him a while, he finally just goes, you're a boob. Yeah. He started getting affected and going, rubbing his beard, and having that effect like, I'm smart, I don't have anything to say, but And oh, and by the way, he came over to us. He heard us talking to college kids and having a great time, and people were enjoying the discussions. And he had to come over and think he was going to lord over us, and we just laughed at him. But listen,
let me point
I want to say something here. Cave. Country.
This is right-wing literature.
Yeah. This is right-wing. In fact, what about that A&E story that's coming out saying we're all a bunch of right-wing conspiracy theorists?
Yeah, this is right-wing.
Cave Country Tourist Guide. Now, about a month ago, I was on my show talking about this, and I also say this on the radio and everywhere else. People sit there and tell me that the UN hasn't been given any of these sites. Well, the Osprey Statesman said in the sports page that Bobby Unser got a $5,000 fine and yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. And Bobby Unser was arrested for driving his snowmobile in a blizzard, couldn't see, about a couple miles into one of these biospheres. They arrested him. He barely made it out in 2 days with frostbite and things. They grabbed him, arrested him, and fined him $5,000 for entering the UN biosphere. The environmentalism has zero at the top level to do with the environment. It has everything to do with taking private property.
Let me just briefly go into.
Well, read this again.
Well, let me just briefly go into what
Mammoth Cave National Park, International Biosphere Reserve, and World Heritage Site.
Let's get another close-up of this. Now, while we're doing this, Alex, at least I can. I'm going to give it just a brief history of the great United Nations as we know it.
How loving they are.
First off,
all the Jewish gold they have from killing Jews.
The UN Security Council initially was the responsible for creating. They passed a UN resolution to basically get us into the Korean War.
They're a bunch of Nazis. They're a bunch of Nazis.
Okay, that's when Alger Hiss and several of the Army generals weren't allowed to go on and attack some of the areas in Korea. Okay, they also were responsible for getting us into the Vietnam War. This is the UN Security Council. That great elite, that great organization.
That helps us.
Yeah, the Vietnam War.
Well,
they have been responsible.
Talk about the Gulf War syndrome.
They have been responsible for starving hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children in Iraq through economic sanctions. They are also doing it, starving people in Cuba for economic sanctions. They have called for global gun control.
Disarm the slaves.
Right, global abortion on demand, which is part of the the slave masters population control.
We have
program.
to have it though.
You have to have it. Too many useless feeders on the planet.
Now
remember, folks.
Wait, there is no right and wrong. You just aren't balancing things. Maybe Hitler was right.
We're talking about this great United Nations that, like I mentioned, that John D. Rockefeller donated $8 million to fund the initial UN building in New York City. You know, Mr. Rockefeller, the great Mr. Rockefeller. This is now the one that's in charge of your parks. One more time with this, Michael, if we will, because this is this anti-government right-wing literature that we get so accused of using on this program. Right there it is, folks. This is from the rest area of the Kentucky.
Over 25 major parks have been taken over, and also hundreds of other small portions of other parks. They take little sectors.
This is that right-wing literature that we use right there, that we get our information from.
But Americans can't take care of the parks. Only the UN can.
Yes. So with that, I also want to mention, then we're going to let you go on.
No,
with
sure.
your piece.
Gulf War syndrome.
No, we're going to talk. I'm going to talk about July 4th.
Oh, that's always important.
Now, once again, I was told there was thousands of slaves that went down here to Town Lake and millions of slaves across the country that went down with their little flag and was feeling all good. Now, they was feeling good because it was Independence Day, they thought, right? I mean, it was all Independence Day, and they were really feeling good about all this. Here's America today. This is a little New World Order scene that we're witnessing. But frankly, folks, if you think you're living in the land of the free and the home of the brave, I've got some swampland in Phoenix, Arizona I'd like to sell you. And I think you've got some swamplands or something that you'd like to sell.
No, it's a golden magical bridge.
Magical bridge.
But they can't see it, but it's there, I promise.
Yeah, I mean, if you look...
you know why it's there? Because it loves the children.
Let's briefly analyze how free we are.
Loves the children.
52% of our confetti money goes to pay the corporate governments. We've had useless no-win wars repeatedly over the years, where 18-year-old kids have been slaughtered.
We're not meant to win wars now.
Hundreds of thousands of people lose their homes and their properties and their cars to the IRS every year. Millions. Millions more lose their properties to property tax across the country. We have millions of people violated out into the streets. We've got for speeding and parking and all of this, this stuff's going to take good care of. Make sure we wear our seat belt and all of this.
But are the crack sellers off the street right up here on East 11th?
Yeah.
No, they're not off the
street. We have surveillance cameras going up. We have surveillance equipment everywhere, judging us.
And we'll show film of that later. We'll show some film of that right here in Austin.
Quite frankly, folks, you have become. This great nation has been conquered. We are now in modern Babylon, and have become. Now it's no longer the home of the free and the
but tell them who's conquered it. Tell them who's conquered it.
Now it's the home of the slave, the home of the sheep, and the land of the slaves. So the next July 4th, when you go up with your little, take your little flag up there.
Jeff, you need to tell them who the masters are.
Slave master. That's the financial oligarchy. The Federal Reserve Bank and all of these folks. The World Bank, the ones that...
Chairman Wolfson.
The ones that created the United Nations.
Whose father was a Nazi.
Right. And all of these good people that are going to take good care of you.
But they love the children, Jeff.
They
love the children. I'm sick of you attacking these loving people.
They love the children.
They make excuses for the big machinery of government. We need them. They destroy entire third world countries. We need them.
With that, Alex, I wanted to just mention July 4th, because it is officially now the land of the sheep and the home of the slaves.
You got it.
Okay.
Something you told me, though. Now, you notice the press isn't calling Gulf War syndrome anymore. Before it was like, well, there's some mental patients coming back from the Gulf. They're having mental problems. Tens of thousands of people, now over 100,000, over a third of the troops that were there of ours and all kinds of, mostly European troops and people. They're all having these same illnesses and having weird things found in their blood, chemicals, sarin nerve gas, 600 chemical weapons detectors gone off. Well, now the press isn't admitting it. They're just calling it Gulf War illness now. Because it's not a mental syndrome like they told our troops while they were busy dying from chemical nerve agents when we had antidotes that would at least reverse some of the effects. Like, for 6 or 7 years, they told us it's bull. Now, since so much information's come out, it's come out and said in hearings that 600 chemical weapons detectors went off. Now they're just kind of saying, well, maybe there was a few little boo-boos.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's nothing we can do too much about it.
But,
we just have to.
But why a year ago when me and you were talking about this, when people caught up in college,
we were there.
We were moron, right-wing, evil people.
Yeah. This here's a classic example. Again, one more time. Let's put a close up.
This is our right-wing literature.
This right-wing literature here that we use for our information.
I mean, look at it. I have to read this again, and I've seen these all over the country. Right here it's got all your little advertisements on the back here. It says, "You're always welcome at Mammoth Cave Hotel, Mammoth Cave National Park, International Biosphere Reserve, a World Heritage Site, longest cave system in the world, over 340 miles, and it now now belongs to the
why
bankers."
do you? But that's okay.
Well, this cave.
The UN's okay.
And besides,
what's wrong with that?
Caves
Mr.
are
Jones?
vital in case we're ever.
What's wrong with that, Mr. Extremist?
Well, we need it. It's for the children.
Yes.
Well, I want people to understand who's behind the UN. Tell them who's behind the UN, Jeff.
Go ahead, you do that.
Well,
I've been talking enough.
Well, we'll shift that camera there a little bit. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Come on, we don't get involved in shifting cameras.
I understand.
Just talk.
I understand. Right here it says, "You are always welcome at Mammoth Cave." And this should everybody should see this for themselves. And if you look here.
We shifted the camera.
Well, I was saying I want to get a close-up of this because, we've already done it 3 times, but this is cave.
Pretty
country.
powerful
yeah,
stuff.
This is
That's
cave
that
country.
right-wing literature.
Something that's key, though, is that underground cave systems, a lot of them out west have been taken over by the military and the government, and they make big expanses out of them because if there's ever a biological, chemical, or nuclear attack on this country, these will be vital. Well, guess who will control them? It'll be UN troops. And there's over 40,000 UN troops at any average time here in the U.S.
God, you're a thief. Well, you're really way out.
Yeah, Mammoth Cave, controlled by the UN now, folks. Oh, is that the wrong one?
That's it.
I mean, look at that, folks.
Mammoth Cave.
I mean, that's not me sitting there giving you. I've been telling you this, that 25 major national parks have been given over totally to the UN, and hundreds of others, pieces of them have been given away.
Yep.
Environmentalism is about stealing your private property. Now, the little minions, the little dupes at the lower level don't know any better. They think they're doing some good.
Yeah, they do.
They're useful idiots.
They're useful.
But I'll tell you who started the whole systems here in this country. The Rockefeller interests, John D. and all of them, about 100 years ago started the first environmentalist groups. Not because they wanted to do that, because they wanted excuses to take their competitors' land so their property value would go up. Well, now they're greedy. They get half your money in taxes. They get all the regulations they want. The federal police agencies control your local police departments now. That's a fact. Everybody's paying homage. We're being ushered into a police state. But don't worry.
You're a theorist.
Yes. Don't worry. The UN is a loving organization that loves the children.
And this is right-wing literature you're getting your information from.
Yeah, from a tourist guide at the national park. Mm-hmm.
All right, with that, I think, Alex, first off, we've got some callers that have been holding. Okay. Now, if we could implement our new system of bringing callers to the air, it'd be nice. Are we going to go to that new system, or are we blowing that off now? I guess we're going to go to that new simple system of bringing callers to the air. Okay.
Hey, I want to say one thing.
Go ahead. While we're implementing our new system.
That film that he was just showing is off A&E, and the reason we showed it is me and you are not anti-Semitic. I have Jewish friends. Millions of them were killed by the bankers in Europe back during the last war. The Switzerland has tons of gold that came out of Jewish teeth. I think that's terrible. They're the ones that are the racist. But what did A&E do when they did a story about conspiracy theorists? They said that we were all anti-Semitic.
And right-wing.
And right-wing when we are not right-wing.
We're no-wing.
Hey, yeah. Cave country tourist guide. I'm telling you, you're getting shysted here.
I really couldn't believe it. My son bought
There's a UN biosphere.
I couldn't believe it. Gee,
Yellowstone Park. A third of Yellowstone Park's been turned over to UN control.
Yeah. Well, it's in our best interest.
Yeah, because UN
Okay. All right. It's in our best interest, of course, now, folks. All right, here, okay, we're implementing a new system here of bringing callers to the air, and I appreciate you folks have been holding for a while. We've got a new system that we're going with here. Okay, line 1, we got Paul. Paul, are you with us?
Hello, slaves.
Hi.
Yes, I was wondering, in the interest of not being overtaxed, Wouldn't it be better if we did turn over the parks? That way we wouldn't have to pay to maintain them.
Oh yeah, turn them over to the UN. We pay the UN.
All right, why don't we just give them the parks? I see no big deal with them taking them over.
Well, let me ask you that. Who do you think financed them to begin with?
Did we have to pay for the land?
Hey, we're giving the Chinese our naval
Shut up,
bases.
I'm talking to Jeff.
I agree. Let's give them our military bases too.
Shut up! I'm talking to Jeff.
No. Yeah. Who do you think paid to preserve the national parks to begin with?
Did we?
The slaves, American
okay.
taxpayers.
Okay.
There was promised to us if we pay the taxes, one of the things that they'll pay off the national parks and preserve this land for the slaves to go and have recreation.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
yes, I have a problem after the slaves pay for it to turn it over to an unelected body called the United Nations that are totally elected by us.
That are a fist of the international.
Yes,
banks.
I have a problem with that.
They're a fist, sir.
So you don't want to give them the parks?
No, I don't want to give an unelected body the parks that I paid for.
It's a foreign body, sir.
What's the difference between giving the parks to the UN and just or letting this evil so-called government keep them? If they're both as bad as you say, what does it matter
let
who
me
has
answer
them?
that. I will answer
If we
that.
give them to the New World Order or whatever, at least we won't have to pay to maintain them or anything like that anymore.
First off, we do pay the UN. In fact,
where do we pay the UN?
We pay dues. Right now
over $2 billion
a
year.
year.
Well, let me just answer the question. To answer your question specifically, I don't believe that we should be forced through coercive measures.
Well, listen to this guy.
Let me answer the question.
He's willing to give it up to
No, don't interrupt me. Yeah,
groups.
but he's got a valid point. Now, to answer your question specifically, I do not believe that American people should have their house stolen away from by the IRS, should have their cars seized and taken from them. People should be put in jail for refusing to pay taxes to pay for any park.
But they won't take crack dealers off the
Whether
street.
it's under UN, American, or what.
But they won't.
Shut up! Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, that's my answer. I agree with you.
Okay.
I don't believe that we should have a coercive government that forces us through coercive means, meaning sending people men in with guns to enforce IRS taxes to pay for any parks.
And rightfully so.
If people want to have parks, they can set up parks and pay for them voluntarily.
Right, but see, what I'm trying to say is I think that we need to realize that maybe parks were a bad investment. We're not making any money off them. And if someone's willing to take those off our hands and we no longer have to pay to maintain
We're still paying for them.
let them have them.
No, let me make that. The first point is we should not have been forced to pay for it, period.
Right.
Okay, now with that, now since at least on the surface, we were promised that if we participate coercively and pay these taxes, we would have these lands for our use and our recreation protected by the so-called U.S. Congress and our national government. Never was it told to us when they were stealing from us to pay for the national parks that one day they would be turned over to an international body not elected by us. So it's a fraud either way you look at it. Yes.
It's unconstitutional.
But
Right,
at
but
least
let's
if
say, for
it's under
example,
our U.S. Congress, and at least on the premise that our Congress is a legitimate Congress that has our best interests at heart, maybe they will protect the parks and let the slaves go and use that park.
Yeah, Clinton shut down the parks.
Already now
let's use an example. Let's say like if we got a bad car and we were making payments, and then someone offered to just basically take over the payments when the car was already a piece of crap. I mean, wouldn't that sound like a good deal?
No, but there's a fallacy in that thought. The fact is that you volunteered to go pay for that car. I didn't volunteer to pay for this park. This park has been bought off the.
Well, the caller's missing it though, Jeff.
You got to understand.
You're missing it.
No,
Is it all about talk? I've been sitting here for 5 minutes.
Well, you got to understand the basic premise.
I mean,
the premise is
we're still paying for the parks, Jeff.
Yes, that too. Also, we do pay a fund to the United Nations.
No, the United Nations isn't paying for these either. They just get to run them because it's for global goodness.
I know that, but we still do pay a fee.
It's like paying your house payment and somebody dropping by and running your house.
Here's my point.
How are they running them?
They've got them under the UNESCO.
Forget it. Just the guy does.
They've got them. No.
I'm asking you a question. How are they running them?
They
have
through
UN troops there.
Through the UN Charter, they have now taken control of these national parks that at one time were promised to the American slaves.
Right. So if they have UN troops there as opposed to they had American troops there. They used to have American troops at these parks.
No, they used to have just regular national park rangers.
Okay, so we're not having to pay for park rangers anymore there.
That's not the point.
No,
we've already paid for it.
We're paying for the UN,
See, you have to understand the first premise is that the whole idea is a scam.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say
is... So let's stick to the premise that initially we should not lose our house to pay for any park.
Right, and maybe if we didn't have to pay for the parks, maybe if we didn't have to pay for the parks, we wouldn't have to pay so many taxes, and we wouldn't lose our homes.
No, but one of the reasons why it was fed to us, why we were paying taxes,
it is given to the bankers and they'll cut our taxes.
Let me answer the question. The reason why it was fed to the public and sold to the public was that these parks, if you pay your taxes, we would have these parks to enjoy for us. Never was it sold to us when they were selling us this that it was going to be turned over to an international body not elected by us. So it's a scam on every front. That's the point. It's part of the whole. That's about the best I can answer it. Hello? I guess we lost him. All right. What? All right. Did you want to respond? Okay, John, you're online too. Hello.
Hello?
John, you're on. Is this John?
Yeah.
Hi, John.
How you doing?
Good, and you?
All right. Hey, I got a question for you.
Go ahead, brother.
Okay, if Hillary Clinton gets prosecuted, can Bill Clinton give her a president pardon?
I have no idea. To me, that's maybe you can
sound about right though?
I don't know, because that's kind of part of the bread and circus issue that I don't think that really amounts to anything. I think that we have a treasonous government, totally treasonous, dictatorial, tyrannical, and this little bread and circus issue like Paula Jones and
right.
all of this, I think is just part of the diversionary tactics to get us focused off what's really being done to us.
Right.
That's my answer to that.
But what do you think? I think that's probably what's going to happen, though. What do you think?
I don't know. I can't honestly say. Frankly, I would dare say that none of them will be indicted. I think in all of these situations of Whitewater, whether the SNL theft, whatever, I think they'll find a few scapegoats to lay the blame on to make it look good, like, slap somebody's hand to make it look good. But the real powers themselves are going to escape any type of prosecution.
Oh yeah.
I would be surprised to see any of the slave masters or their puppets, the ones that the front men, actually been indicted for anything.
Well, hello folks, it's Mike Hanson. I'm sorry to interrupt your viewing here on YouTube. What we're trying to do is get all these VHS tapes before they go bad. If you see right here, they're already starting to go bad. So we're doing the best we can to get them, these thousands of tapes up on YouTube before they completely go bad, which they are pretty well going bad already. You see how it flicked? I'm live on the air. You see how it's starting to mess up at the bottom and flicker every once in a while. That means they're getting really, really old. So what we're doing is we've hired some people. We've got a bunch of expensive equipment, and we're getting them uploaded to either Mike Hanson Archives. Be sure to subscribe to Mike Hanson Archives, Hanson Archives, Waco Archives, or the newest one, Trailer Park Show Archives. And if you would like to contribute $25 for this effort, I will send you a copy of my book that I wrote, Bohemian Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. Just, if you can see that, send it to 901 St. Joseph Street, Gonzales, Texas, 78629. Or you can call us and leave a message, and somebody will call you back and get your credit card, and we'll send you a signed copy out there. 830-672-3089. So we'll get right back to either Jeff Davis, Alex Jones, Steve Lane, whoever's on right now, from 25 years ago. We're trying this, I think it's a good effort to try to save this history. This is history, folks. Where are you going to see this again from from 95. I was the producer for Jeff Davis and Alex Jones for 15 years, from 1995 to 2010. And we have a lot of tapes. I know Alex had a lot of tapes, but he left them out in the garage or something and they completely ruined. So getting this history up, I think is very important. And I'm making it a goal in my life. Hopefully, somebody said, that's going to take you 20 years to get all that stuff. Well, no, if we can get a little donations, we can go ahead and hire some more people and get it up faster. But the tapes are deteriorating very quickly, as you can see every once in a while right here. That means these VHS tapes, these old VHS. If you're young, you probably don't even know what these VHS tapes are. But you know, you got to keep them in a cool place and a clean place. Some of them are very dirty, so we're trying to get them up. All righty, thanks a lot, and God bless, folks. And call us and help us if you can. Now here's Alex.
That's my opinion. So if it happens, then maybe I'll take up that issue.
All right.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, John. Okay, Alex, you had something to say. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I don't want to monopolize. Anyways, by the way, that was Chris Ramirez who just called and was telling me to shut up. I don't know why.
Whatever.
Why he doesn't have the thing.
They're entitled to call.
No, I know.
Go ahead.
No, I know he's entitled to call. It's funny when I call on shows, I give him my name. Well, just a little thing that I didn't even read the Dallas Morning News today, but it's the Monday, July 7, 97 issue of on page 8A. It says, under federal law, the military may assist law enforcement with surveillance and other duties, but military units cannot make arrests or searches and are trained to shoot only in self-defense. Okay, number one, and then it gets down here, it says, it says, this is one of the most important parts of training, Lieutenant Kish said, dealing with civilians, how to conduct yourself, not to escalate the use of force. That's our bread and butter. Okay, that is unconstitutional. And when Chris Ramirez just plays devil's advocate and calls up and says, what's wrong with our parks being over, he doesn't care about being a slave.
Frankly, though, Alec, I'm not going to deteriorate into this.
But
I think he was asking a legitimate question.
No, I understand that, but what I'm talking about...
It was you that was going on the defensive with him.
But it's shocking to me... It's the mentality of the slave.
That might be, but that's okay.
No, it's nothing...
10 years ago, I was dumber and dirt, too, so there.
But it's nothing personal.
Just stick to what's your facts here. What do you...
Well, it's just shocking to me that we've lost our Constitution and that people just say, what's wrong with giving up our national parks to foreign bodies? And then we still pay for the parks, but they just get to run them. I mean, we're losing our sovereignty. It's pretty much gone, and people don't even care. That's why I get so excited, and it's so shocking to me. I'm trying to wake people up, and people just, I guess we're just ready to pay an 80-something% tax rate. I don't know.
Well, go on, brother.
Well, it's just, people out there, this is the crux of the thing. If you want to talk about the mentality, people feel like they're part of the establishment. If they drive a nice vehicle,
sure, but we all have that.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. But they feel like people don't realize they think middle class is rich, and they never really make the next conscious jump to the next level and understand that people are making massive decisions about our everyday lives that are not in our best interest. And and then we feel like, well, I'm not going to oppose the establishment because A, I'm a weakling, or A, I have bad
have a nice car.
Yeah, well, or I have bad self-confidence, or I just don't think I can do any good, or this is just the way it's always been. And so, me personally, and then people will say, well, what's your solution? I'm not like the government. I don't give people these little namby-pamby, vote for more government, that's a solution. And then people say, well, the government's messed things up. I'm tired of paying for them. Let's just give it away. Well, you don't throw more money at a problem. Capital Metro is absolutely, totally, 100% corrupt, out of control, gets $45 million more a year than our police department does. Okay, but you can barely get a police car out if your car gets stolen. But don't worry, they'll pull you over and give you a ticket. And what I'm saying about that, no, seriously, what I'm saying about this whole thing, and what is the most, Jeff's over here laughing.
Go ahead.
You're fired up for being gone for 2 weeks.
It's all right. We're just having fun down here.
Yeah, and
the scariest part about the whole thing is that people really think it's not going to affect them. They don't understand that more and more the tax base is very progressive. It is taking and destroying the country. We're in the middle of the slowest recovery ever, but people just think that it doesn't matter because they've been taught and spoon-fed this. And so people shouldn't be threatened by me or anybody else that's saying, think for yourselves. They ought to be threatened by a government and an educational system.
That's the thing, the point I was trying to make, was that they have used coercive means to do all of their shenanigans. And that's the one thing that, it's not you or me that's going out stealing their property or giving them tickets or putting surveillance cameras up. They're sending their young 18-year-old kids to go fight in these.
We're going to show that, by the way, later.
The point is,
cameras we filmed here.
The point is, folks, I can guarantee you through all the investigation that I've done that the enemy of the American people lurks in Washington, D.C. and in New York City, specifically the banking house of New York City. And there's just no other conclusion to draw from it. And anybody that hasn't studied, that hasn't, doesn't, and quite frankly, I'm to the point where I don't even care if people don't believe me.
Well, why do some people...
They want to just sit around and end up like the majority of these people that you did these interviews with yesterday. Well, that's okay by me.
Jeff, why do some people, though, and I noticed this all through what I've read about human history and checked out, people will get really violently opposed. They will get violently opposed to anybody that simply will point out the problem.
Sure.
It's
you know why? It attacks the comfort zone, Alex. They're sitting around their nice little cars and their little houses. Anybody explains to them how America's been conquered, been taken over by foreign interests, how we're losing our sovereignty, we're losing our rights. They just...
they think whenever...
many people, that's just too much.
Yeah,
they just don't want it. It
Sure.
attacks their comfort
Well, I can
zone.
just make one point.
Go ahead.
What they do is then when you attack foreign interests, which are multi-trillion-dollar each banking house of the world's 8th biggest banks. We're not talking about little foreigners that come over here to work. See, if you attack foreign interests, America's been so dumbed down they think you're being a racist or something. Americans only try to act like they know what they're talking about. Everything is acting like you know what you're talking about, not actually really saying something, because if you say something, you might slip up. You might be a little bit wrong. No one will venture anything. No one will step forward.
But we are right-wingers. Right here's our material.
Yeah, because we're using a Cave Country Tourist Guide.
That is funny. Okay, we ready with our new implementation of calls?
Yeah, let's go call.
We'll let you respond. All right, here we are. Are we ready with that new? All right, here we are. We're trying to implement a new system of calls here, folks. We're doing this as best we can here. Okay, go to line 1 and Mike. Mike, you're on the air. Oh, wait a minute.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
How you doing tonight?
Thank you for holding, brother.
Yeah, I was watching C-SPAN the other day, Washington Journal, and it was just talking about, I think y'all are really overreacting. Y'all are looking for conspiracy every single where you can. The rest of the world, they were saying, as far as the UN, the rest of the world regards the UN as nothing but a puppet of the United States. We control it, we run it, we do whatever we want to with it, but the United States, for some reason, sees the UN as something that's going to take over the United States.
Why is the majority of our interest payments going to foreign countries?
Okay, let me respond to that briefly, Mike.
We do not very brief.
First off, I don't think the UN is going to take over the United States.
It's just one arm.
I think it's a mechanism by the global,
one tentacle,
by the world's financial oligarchy.
There's the World Bank. There's the International Monetary Fund.
To control.
There's the World Trade Organization.
Hey, wait, I'm sorry. Could one of y'all talk at a time? Yeah. I cannot. Please.
Well, he was responding to what I was saying. It's frankly, if you want to get my idea of what I think is going to happen, have you studied the Inquisition of the Catholic Church recently?
No, I haven't.
Okay. If you ask me, a lot of the problem that we face is coming right out of Rome.
Well, I saw your show and you had an individual on, and he was talking about there's like 4,000 different places in the United States where there's biosphere, where the United States or the UN has control. And I saw another show, and they were saying the recent thing, there are like 12 biosphere reserves that are part. Well, okay, 25. But I have been to the Yucatan Peninsula. I've been to the International Biosphere Reserves there, and it's very nice to go to other countries And for I think we needed to give a little bit for other countries to quit ripping up the rainforest. And it's nice. There's nothing. No one thinks the UN's taking over down there. They see it as a great chance for people to put money into the environment and save the vanishing rainforest in the Yucatan Peninsula.
That's a real good brainwashing job, Mike.
Well,
obviously, you have not really studied the UN. Are you aware that the UN Security Council voted to start the Korean conflict? Are you aware that the UN Security Council is responsible for creating the Vietnam War? Are you aware that the UN has starved literally hundreds of thousands of people,
hundreds of millions,
through economic sanctions in Iraq and
no, hadn't the United States been at the forefront of that?
I'm asking you a question, brother. Are you aware?
I'm aware that the United States...
Are you aware of that?
I'm aware the United States controls the UN.
How does the United States control the UN? We've got one delegate there.
We already told him the UN is only one tentacle, sir.
Yeah, and it's not like that. It's only one tentacle. Let me ask you this, Mike. Are you in favor of giving our U.S. trade policy over to a World Trade Organization?
No.
Well, it's been done.
That's been done. Okay, let me ask you this then. Are you in favor of turning over the FBI records and the U.S. data bank, the government files over to the Interpol system?
I don't know about all this.
No, I'm asking you a question.
No, I don't know about this. I've never heard about this.
Well, that's the whole point.
Well, I'm saying, but
that's the whole point. You watch some stupid public radio program or some KLRU phony job. But what I'm suggesting to you, Mike,
this morning.
What I'm suggesting to you is that is the information you're getting is a smoke and mirrors.
Let me just say something.
Are you familiar that do you know that John D. Rockefeller had originally financed the $8 million UN building in New York City that it sits in right now?
And that's what I'm saying. The United States basically controls the UN.
I don't trust John D. Rockefeller. I don't trust the Rockefellers. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, number one, we're getting off the whole base.
No, I think it's good discussion.
Well, I'm not talking about what Mike's saying. And I've talked to Mike off here before. He's a pretty nice guy. What I'm saying is this. Look, we should keep some of our environment. We should do some things. But that's all something, and there's George Bush talking about the New World Order. We should just totally get off this whole deal and understand that we should either decide to totally get rid of our Constitution and openly say we're now a international socialist state controlled by 20 corporations, 8 of which are international banks, or we should say, no, things are off track, let's be a representative democracy like we used to be. Okay,
right.
Okay, our country, they are dismantling it as we speak. They're literally, and I'm doing good. I'm not some out-of-work guy who doesn't drive a nice vehicle and doesn't have a good life and a girlfriend and the whole nine. I got it. And I'm just telling you, I'm an American, then that's not some holy word, but I want to be there next time to oppose the next Hitler.
But I tell you, I see every single thing you're wrapped up in conspiracies.
No,
Alex,
sir,
you'll show these Oklahoma bombing tapes, and there's about 3 different videos. And the 3 people contradict each other. And one guy says there's no crater. Newsweek had to draw one in. The other guy says...
Because you've been talking a lot.
Well, let me
I've got to counter Mike real fast. Now, Mike, let me just tell you something. That sounds like I was over at Jeff's producer. He didn't like to have his name said, but I was over at Jeff's producers last night with Jeff after I went over to my grandparents and places. I was over there, and we watched a film that he taped off A&E, and I've seen these tapes. And it pretty much admitted that the CFR pretty much almost ran our country and admitted a bunch of stuff, but then it said, this is no big deal. This is no big problem. If that's the way it is, then our country should know who to go to. It's not Congress. It's not the president. It's the CFR and the Bilderbergers.
That's right.
And all these other guys.
That's right. So in other words, all of this smoke about the U.S. Congress, it's an illusion. I mean, if we want to just give our U.S. sovereignty over to the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, the UN...
I'm saying, okay, well, what can we do?
Let's just come out with it and say, okay, that's what we're going to do.
What can we do, Jeff? Because Alex voted for Bob Dole in the last election.
Well,
that was his solution.
That's his, that's his...
No, what should we do? And say, you have a good night.
Thank you very much. That's his mistake.
Let me talk about that. Now, I talked to this guy off the air, and I went and I voted a split ticket. I voted for some Libertarians and I voted for some Republicans. And where are the few places you see Republicans? The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee has actually entered the bill Bill 2002 to abolish the IRS and to take away its powers to take people's houses. Congressman Ron Paul, libertarian, conservative, he went in there and he just got elected, and he's openly talking about the House Record Statesman that there's too much federal control over local police departments. I like the few small cadre of Republicans that are actually trying to cut corporate welfare.
But Bob Dole's not one of them.
No, he's not one of them.
Bob Dole's an elitist
He
fat
was not
cat.
one of them, but I was voting for some of the Republican plank. I knew, I knew he was going to lose anyways, and I voted for mainly libertarians.
Mike, I do agree with you on your final point. I would never vote for Dole or Clinton, either one of those establishment fat cats. They're all part of the problem, and as far as I'm concerned...
but who's their baby? Who won? Who'd they push? Who'd they do push polls for?
It didn't make any difference to them.
Okay, fine.
Okay, next caller. Let's go to Seth. Line 3. Seth, you're with us.
Hello. I have a two-part question. The first part is going to make it sound like it's not particularly germane, but when I get to the second part, it'll, pull it back into the issue of American independence from, like a totalitarian United Nations regime or whatever. And the first part concerns something that I've been following for about a year, and yesterday in Mexico, I don't know if you're familiar with this yet, the PRI, the ruling party, lost an election for the Mexico City mayoral seat to the PRD.
Yes, it's a smokescreen though for people.
And
for people.
Let him go on. Sure.
What do you think that the PRD and the PAN, recent coming to fruition in the Mexican elections, what effect do you think that's going to have on the PRI as the ruling party, and also in relations with the uprisings in Chiapas with the Zapatistas? And do you think that in America we could ever, hope for a glorious revolution like that the Zapatistas are, forwarding in Chiapas with a class war against capitalists and other sorts of, fascist totalitarians that try to ruin people's lives?
Sure. Caller, what's your... the PRI is...
Hey, Seth, thanks for your call. Go ahead and respond
you,
now. And then we're going to go to that video.
Sure.
Well, we'll get one more call. We got
well, let me answer
Scott online. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead and respond.
I'm going to butcher you on the radio.
Well, you go ahead. I said respond.
I know. Well, you're going to let me talk. I'm the FM radio host here. I'm going to be nice to you when you come on. All right. And again, we don't get orders from headquarters. That's why me and Jeff argue and debate. We're actual real human beings that have minds. Okay. Now, something I want to say to people out there is the PRI has been a bloodthirsty institution. The party of institutionalized revolution in Mexico has been anything but that. Mexico has the most billionaires per capita for any country in the world, and has produced the most billionaires, but it has also the biggest poor group in the world, except for maybe India. Okay, and I mean per capita, not actual population. We know India has over 900 million people, and we know that Mexico has a lot less than that. What is it? 75 million last time I heard. So that's something to think about. Now, the PRI is a bloodthirsty group. I believe this is all a smokescreen. They've got other people elected and controlled them as puppets. They've killed anybody that's gotten in their way. They're slaves, U.S. corporations.
Let me just chime in briefly.
Chase Manhattan and Citibank are going in there.
They also have a central bank, and the World Bank has set up high interest rate loans.
You got it, and they're loving UN biospheres all over the place.
Okay.
You notice that they don't have these UN biospheres in Europe. So something I want to say to the caller is, yes, the PRI is just incredibly evil. They deal in total guile and corruption. Their people are lower than scum there, and I feel so sorry for the Mexican people that are generally a good, hard-working Christian people, and I just think it's terrible. So that's why I am so fervent, because you see the whole world more and more. It's like the good guys are losing and evil's taken over. And somebody said something to me out when we did these interviews, but I didn't put it on here because I believe we weren't taping then. After we ended an interview, somebody walked up and goes, "Alex Jones, I'm sick of you. Get a life, whatever. There isn't good leaders and there isn't bad leaders. There's just leaders." And I heard that same thing on this A&E video that you're seeing pieces of, little flashes up that the producer's putting on, where they said these militia people and these right-wing extremists and all these evil people, which we're not. I'm just a business person that just lives here in Austin. I'm not even part. Yeah. But here's the deal. What they do is am I looking at the right camera? I am, Laura.
Yes, go, Alex. You're doing
yeah.
fine.
What you have to understand is this. There have been good leaders, they've been bad leaders. They want to tell us that there's no such thing as good and bad leaders. Hitler was a bad leader. Mao Zedong was a bad leader. Fidel Castro is a bad leader no matter what some UT professor tells you. He's killed hundreds of thousands of people. But they'll say, well, he gives
the Catholic Church is a bad church.
Well, it goes on and on, okay? so that's, that's fine. But people, it's this relativism. Believe me, we can all be relativists and never make a decision. Believe me, the elite's going to make decisions. So we've got to set courses. We've got to do things. They've got us inactive. They've got us like a deer in the headlights. That is what this relativism, this open-mindedness is. I'm open-minded, people. I don't even claim to be 100% right. But I've read enough of world history to know a lot of crap goes on. And I know that the film Waco Rules of Engagement that showed here in Austin, even the Augsburg Statesman had to admit it, but they said that the feds were mentally ill. No, they weren't mentally ill. They went in there, they pumped in a flammable gas by thousands of gallons, they caught the place on fire, they machine gunned the people, and Waco Rules of Engagement shows the FBI's own film doing that. Now, I'm taking a risk to tell you that, okay? And I'm not doing this for any reason, okay? I'm doing this because I care about people out there.
I think you answered every question.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to, line 2 and Scott. I think I got it right.
Scott?
Hey, Scott, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here now.
How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm a Jeffersonian Republican, strict constructionist of the Constitution, and I'd like to point out to y'all, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the Washington Post National Weekly Edition for June 30th, page 32, it's got this great article about the militarization of all the police forces.
Yeah.
And wait, let me read the very last paragraph to you. The SWAT teams love this stuff. It's fun to fire these weapons. It's exciting to train. They use simunition like paintballs and play warrior games. This stuff is a rush. So all these stormtroopers are out here playing and having fun like these fools that you're showing on your TV right now. And then another point I wanted to make was about that thing on A&E, the conspiracy show on A&E, and where the lady's going, oh, well, sure, yeah, the Trilateral Commission, that's where David Rockefeller and all his evil minions get around and decide, what's going to happen to tens of millions of people all the time. But it's not a conspiracy. It's nothing to worry about.
There's not good leaders. There's not bad leaders.
They're comfortable dealing with these kind of numbers.
What was funny about it was that they didn't deny that it existed, and when they also showed Bush talking about a new world order,
right,
and they made this point that this is what these people believe. They didn't tell us what it really meant.
Right.
Wasn't that funny how they just conveniently
right? They only made it. This is what the right wingers think.
Yeah, but they didn't tell him what they didn't tell us what it meant though.
But wait, I want to also say that it was very interesting that they did put on that show how the CIA was founded by the Nazis, the Gehlen organization, where that guy was the head of the Hitler's version of the CIA.
Well, we imported a whole bunch of Nazis.
The deal was
we imported a bunch of Nazis to help us set up the CIA.
The thing was this: the Gehlen organization had way infiltrated Moscow, and he knew, as well as the United States knew at the end of World War II, that the post-war world was going to be the United States versus the Soviet Union. So he went to the intelligence branches of the United States military and said, we'll tell us what you know if you let us be your CIA.
Did you know that J.P. Morgan's son was the second director of the CIA?
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
I'd also like to tell you this, one more thing. I was at the Auditorium Shores for the 4th of July, and I made a bunch of copies of the Declaration of Independence
and former Presidents
went out there and passed them around to just strangers.
Trilateralism refers to the Trilateral Commission,
and these people
which
were
was
looking at me like I was a lunatic, man, for trying to give them the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July.
Don't tell me about my rights!
This guy looks at me and goes, the Declaration of what? I thought we got the day off work because they're shooting the fireworks in the air. Isn't that cool? And I'd like to quote just one small part of the Declaration of Independence right here. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Now, I'm an extremist, I'm a wacko, I'm a child killer, baby slayer, conspiracy theorist, anti-Semite, wacko guy, but I think Thomas Jefferson knew exactly what was up, man. And I was ashamed. I was absolutely ashamed to see the look on the faces of these people when I tried to give them the Declaration of Independence.
Hey, Scott,
I was some kind of idiot. They wouldn't even, they were like, what?
Hey,
there were a
Scott,
couple patriots there, but
let me
few.
interrupt you just for a minute. Do you realize all those terms, those labels you use there are the enemy labels?
Show my right wing
stuff. Let me just throw this at you.
Okay.
Can you imagine this: all those labels you just used, replace that with the term heretic.
Yeah, there you go, man.
I mean, there you got it, baby.
Yep.
I mean, this thing could be getting set up all over again.
Right, and one more short thing. The guy that was talking about the rainforest.
One other thing I want to mention. Did you see this?
Oh, was that the thing about the caves in the national park?
Yeah, this is that right-wing literature that we...
a national park brochure telling you the UN's taking it over.
That right-wing literature that
we get our information from.
Hey, I wanted to say that the guy that was saying that the people in South America, they don't see the world government as taking them over. They see it as the United States. And look at John Rockefeller. So he founded it. He's an American. Well, John Rockefeller has no loyalty to America whatsoever. He's loyal to greed only. And I'd like to say that every nation in South America, I believe with maybe one exception, including Latin America too, I mean, they're all in debt to the International Monetary Fund. And the way they got the interest payments set up, I was watching some guy from the LaRouche organization show all the bar graphs about the debt of Argentina, for example, and how they've already paid 3 times their original debt, and they still owe more than twice that after the interest payments, which they'll never pay off.
You know another reason why I think that Americans have more materialism than South Africa and Africa, or South America and Africa and some of these other nations?
Because we like commercials, and we like to buy the stuff.
We like to be conditioned. We like to be conditioned. We do not question commercials.
I'll tell you why, because we're productive slaves.
Yep. That's right. We live on a big plantation. Hey, I want to recommend Bill Hicks to both of y'all. I don't know if either of you guys ever watched Bill Hicks, man. He was a late, great Austin comedian, man. And he died in 1993. But, man, he says some great stuff. He's got some great stuff on Waco and on the L.A. riots and all that.
Yeah,
and I think both of y'all should dig on that.
Yeah, well, something
I agree with it. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, something you said, though, I don't think people understand how these World Bank loans that we give the World Bank money to do this with. We give free money to international bankers because they're so sweet to go loan money to people, they tell us, like Chairman Wolfson, Austrian, son of a Nazi. All these people, there are a lot of Nazis involved in this. Our German Joint Chiefs of Staff, John Shalikashvili, is the son of a Polish death camp general, operator. But past that, he's a loving person. Bill Clinton loves the children. Well, no. What we have to understand is this, and something that you said really struck a nerve with me, and it's true. The World Bank, International Monetary Fund, all these other groups. And is this the right camera? Because the lights have not been working.
That's the right camera, Alex.
Well, the lights haven't been working for the last week, and it really confuses me. Something I want to say is this. They go to the dictators or the people or the small group of people that run these countries, and they say, we'll loan you $2 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion. You turn around and run off with half of it, that's fine. All we care about is that you sign these contracts to perpetual rights to your resources, and then our corporations go in there and cut down the trees.
Exactly.
So the UN is the one cutting, the UN is the one cutting down the trees, but they'll then stake off a couple, 100,000 acres and say, well, now it's okay that we're burning the rest of this for hamburger meat and things, for cattle, for ranching.
Don't forget the interest.
But that's how it works. They go in. These people aren't meant to pay back the money.
Here's the point I made to my liberal government professor at Austin Community College. She's talking about the national debt and the way she's been trained to talk about it, that it doesn't matter, and that someday in some distant future that we haven't imagined, our gross national product will be such an extent that a mere $14 trillion won't matter very much, and it'll be all right. And so my point to her was, well, if I go to the bank and I want a loan for a car, they want to know what's my collateral. They want to know what kind of house and what kind of couch and stereo I got so that I'm good for my money. Well, let me ask you something. What's the collateral? This is what I said to my government teacher at AC. What's the collateral on $7 trillion?
Let me also mention to you, Scott.
Our labor.
This particular person you're talking about, obviously, it is a fiscal impossibility to ever get financially solvent as long as we have this debt usury money system.
Right, and I also want to say one last thing for it's. I've had enough time to go to the next caller, but I want to say that my TV does not go up past channel 36, and I get neither C-SPAN, and one or both of y'all had better be taping the Thompson hearings that start tomorrow in the Senate. I want to know all about John Wong, and even on this week, David Brinkley's old show yesterday morning, even Sam Donaldson brought up that this is actually might be even more of a case of espionage and treason than it is campaign financing.
Yeah, it is. What do you mean?
Bill Clinton really did get this spy a job in the
security
Commerce
computers.
Department.
Clinton let
and
a
even
spy
Sam
into the
Donaldson
national
brought that
computer.
up.
Clinton let a spy into our national security computers 144 times now. Even the New York Times admits like it's no big deal. So that's our national super secret computers for a couple $1 million. Wong has been allowed in there 144 times, and something you said is true though. But listen, nothing's going to happen to Clinton. He could probably do whatever he wanted on the front step. On the front steps of the Capitol. This guy is their boy, their puppet. They don't care.
Not only that, let me just mention to
sure.
you, Alex, that it could very well be that if they crash a system like they did in '29 by pulling out $8 billion,
or like they might when the computers all go
then
to
they have a
2000.
scapegoat. Then they can blame it on.
Well, this whole UFO thing, that's all
this whole thing.
That's all something to get us off target and get obsessed with some little imaginary thing.
Hello, it's Mike Hanson, your good Facebook buddy and YouTube buddy. Here's Jeff Davis, my great friend. We're not social distancing. See, we're in 2020 now. Tell me about 1995.
1995.
Well, that's what we're watching right now, Jeff.
You caught me off guard with that. I don't know anything of what's going on in 19. Oh, about how the technology is going to bring world peace.
Get in the shade here.
That's
Come
true.
on back.
Yeah, we were. This fella and myself were in the Channel Austin TV studios in Austin, Texas, public access, about 1995,
96, 97, 98, 99.
And I said to Mike Hanson, we were in the control room, and I said to him, Mike, you know, I don't know anything about this internet too much of what people are talking about, but if it turns out to be anything like people are talking about, it could bring world peace and liberty. And guess what, folks? On this date, 6 June 2020, we're heading into world peace and liberty.
We hope so.
No, that's 100% guaranteed. Jeff Davis Show, official prediction. And as you know, Mike, Jeff Davis Show has been deadly accurate on predictions. Great callings, Orwellian police states, Fed bank fleecing. But this prediction, Jeff Davis Show prediction, is going to bring the greatest world peace and prosperity in the history of the world. That's it.
Well, don't tell those protesters, because I actually told them, live and let live yesterday, and almost got beat up.
Those protesters, those people out there at them rallies, just keep on going, baby, because we're marching our way right into a better place in this world.
We hope so.
Jeff Davis Show knows so just keep marching away and just keep going and going with love and peace, and before you know it, we're going to have heaven on earth, Mike.
We're going to get right back
That's
to
it, baby.
Peace. We're going to take you back to 1996, folks. We'll see you later.
Peace, baby.
God bless you.
That's it. Clinton's just an agent. I mean, he has absolutely no power whatsoever.
He just does whatever they say.
Yeah, neither did Bush.
Skateboarding is not a crime.
These guys are just agents, and you get rid of one agent,
another one steps in.
Another one, they just get another one.
They're like drill bits. You just put those.
So I'm not the slightest bit concerned about.
Let me tell him real fast. He was wanting to see some C-SPAN footage. I was not able to tape it the day that Sandy Berger, the National Security Agency, because my VCR was broken then. I still, 3 weeks later, been too lazy to go buy a new one, or too busy. When Sandy Berger, our National Security Agency advisor, runs the CIA, it's the senior of the CIA, was there at a CFR meeting. He's a top member, by the way, sitting there talking about our global regime of power, talking about the CFR, which is multinational, has more foreign members than
I saw that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so you saw that. I didn't get a chance to tape that. Well, Jeff's producer taped another CFR meeting where they're openly talking about the future of our CIA, and all these politicians and heads of industry are going to go back and then tell people how to run things. So this is the real government meeting body. They're now out in the open on A&E. They're telling us it's no big deal.
Yep.
A caller said he saw that documentary and that they said it was no big deal.
That's me still.
Yeah, so I'm going to show some cuts that me and Jeff's producer got, just going around town, talking to cops, talking to people.
It's almost time to
None of the Germans act like this is Germany back in 1935, want to talk about Hitler, okay? None of the Americans want to talk about that we are totally in league with China that has killed 30 million of its own people, has 20 million in slave labor camps, making tennis shoes and toys, and you name it. Little girls are in these houses of pleasure for the military, like 12 years old. Amnesty International reports on this. On and on and on, but nobody wants to talk about it. corruption's out of control, even here in this city. Capital Metro is out of control. So what do? They throw more money at the problem. Oh, you're a corrupt institution, we'll give you more money. Now, I'm jumping back from state, local, and national because everything is corrupt. This video is very interesting. Stick through.
But you
Sure.
do understand, Alex, that the root of all of these problems is the debt usury money system.
Absolutely. The Federal Reserve is private.
Is a debt scam.
The Federal Reserve is private.
Whether it's welfare,
private.
Defense spending, whatever, it all comes down to somebody financing something.
You got
That's
it.
the root
And
of
it's
the
all an
problem.
accident. They never plan anything.
Something I want to say
That's
is
coincidence theory. I like the coincidence.
Hold on.
theory.
Now
that's even more
Now we're sounding
creditable.
like people might think we're communists. I am for.
Appreciate your call,
Yeah,
Scott.
thanks. I am for a free market system,
Okay,
but what we've got now is not free market.
No,
They
I know.
make us be debtors.
Right. It's government-protected monopolies financed by international bankers.
Yeah, I'm not talking about commerce
at the
banks.
cost of
I'm
the
not talking
nation.
about commerce
Right,
banks.
The big banks.
You want to roll this tape?
The big banks. Okay, folks, let me just mention. Now, well, I had something I was going to...
You said we were just going to roll the tape.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a... You callers, I appreciate your waiting. We're going to go ahead and roll a short video that we did.
About 29 minutes.
Well, and I think it might open your eyes up to some things. Probably not the regular callers of this program, but to your average person out there, just how much. Let me tell you something, folks. If Jeff Davis and Alex Jones are wrong about a dictatorship being set up in this country,
I'll be glad.
Let me. Yeah,
I love it.
But I'll tell you what. After you get done watching some of these interviews. It's certainly a perfect time for one, because quite frankly, the average American out there is so stupid, so dumbed down, so naive on what's going on around them. They have no conception of the Bill of Rights, what their rights are supposed to be. The police that are going out enforcing laws have no idea of rights, of what the rights are supposed to be.
They just want to keep their mouth shut and excel in the system.
Everybody's just following along with the system. Going along
They're
with
putting
the
up
flow.
cameras. They're putting up cameras everywhere,
and,
all over town.
And so, like I mentioned, if there's not a dictatorship being set up, it's certainly a perfect time for one.
Thumb scanners to buy and sell.
Are we ready with the video? I'm ready for a break.
Well, can we rewind it first?
Okay, let's go ahead and take a...
We're rewinding it.
Let's go ahead and take another call then.
Hello, caller on there.
Hello, caller. Thank you for holding with us, my friend. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hey, I'm having a hard time here, and I got the TV going.
Okay, we got on the air. We have... This is Paul. Hap.
No, this is Hap.
Hi, Hap.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
Y'all are quite a pair. You get some real interesting views. Your last caller had he hit a whole lot of topics there's a whole lot of information out there about. A lot of people I know that you see or talk to around the net. Some searches that are out there really would help you out. There's one thing that I don't hear y'all talking about too much, that it's a change in policy the way law enforcement and the military interact.
I talked about it right here. Today's Dallas Morning News, just
Right,
openly,
you
under
touched
federal
on it.
law, the military may assist law enforcement.
Right.
That is unconstitutional.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter if the Supreme Court rules it.
Let me
No,
that's
what I got to say.
Right.
Let me just
Sure.
read this, and I
Sure.
want to have Hap here respond.
Sure.
Under federal law, the military may assist law enforcement with surveillance and other duties.
That's correct.
Okay, and I am
I'm gonna
aware
counter this.
that many of the with the base closures that are going on, which was planned back in the '60s, by the way, but they're turning many of the pieces of military equipment over to the local police departments. And
Right. That generation of equipment is, sorry to cut you off, but that generation of equipment is usually not the real high-speed, really sexy stuff.
Yeah, but an armored personnel carrier is tough
Right.
compared to your
Let
VW
him make
van.
his point,
Right,
though.
well,
But do you have a point, Hap? Did you-
Right. What I'm getting at is the interaction between the military and the surveillance personnel, and the stepping into the gray area of posse comitatus, and the difference between Title 10 soldiers and Title 32 personnel.
Okay,
Yeah.
why don't you explain
Okay.
that?
There's real quick.
the
Title
average
10
person
is
that
all
doesn't
reserve
understand what you-
Marines, all active duty soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, etc.
Well-
Then there's Guard, the National Guard, which is Title 32. Under posse comitatus, Title 32 people can assist within close proximity of law enforcement in the execution of surveillance duties. The counter-drug stuff really cranked up in '87. And this this is a really bad thing. I have a number of very close friends of mine who are involved in this, and it's happening in this town right now. And
I know.
This is something to be really disturbed about. All this other stuff you're talking about, yeah, that's the higher up. That's like a root cause.
We need to talk about the enforcers, the fist that's actually going to do the work.
That's why I'm a big fan of Jack McLean.
Hitler's Gestapo, Police Against the New World Order.
Are you familiar with Jack McLean's
Police Against the New World Order
program? No, not at all.
Okay, he's one of many that have set up a system where they're trying to educate. You have to understand that these law enforcement people
don't know,
and even like Alex was talking about, these environmentalists, the local environmentalists. People that work for the IRS or for the social workers, they're just doing this out of ignorance. They don't even understand what they're doing. They're violating people because they themselves don't know their rights. The people don't know their rights, so it's easy for someone to give them orders to go violate their rights because nobody knows. See?
Okay.
So an educational process with all of these people, and I can tell you, Hap, that there are many cases where people inside their mechanism have become educated and turned against them. Ben Pardon.
Sure.
Ted Gunderson.
General Ben Pardon.
There are a lot of people who are really disturbed about this, especially in the intelligence collection community.
So I'm hoping, and that's why we
well, caller, I talk about this all the time. I don't know if you've ever seen the stuff I talk about. Absolutely. In fact, something I've been talking about a lot, something I asked people on the street and tried to ask the police about in the video that's coming up next, but they wouldn't talk to us about it, and they wouldn't send out anybody from public affairs, even though I called them a few days before. They just said, oh yeah, we'll have somebody, and then they didn't. What they're doing is that now the Supreme Court rules that things like federal agencies working with state governments inside jurisdictions and controlling state governments is illegal. Well, the Supreme Court ruled that the Brady Law was a 10th Amendment infringement. That's all powers not expressly given to the federal government or reserved to the states, period. You have to have an amendment to the Constitution to have that. Well, people don't care. The states just ignore the Supreme Court because hold on. I know because they know where the power comes from, and the power comes from the federal thug of international banking. So absolutely, the federal control apparatus is controlling your local police departments right now as we speak. More and more, our police chief, because she was a good little girl, Elizabeth Watson, she's gone to join the thugs in Washington. Her minions are now in control here. The system's going forward, and that's how Hitler controlled Germany. Central control of all the police forces.
All right, I'm familiar with all that, but the point is it's awareness locally. And the big question is, so what?
Well,
what are you going to do?
Well, there are things you can do.
People want to hear it from their newscaster, and
I know.
And the newscasters aren't going to talk about it.
There are things you can do.
Right.
There was a paper. There's nothing wrong with fighting these issues on a local basis.
Sure.
For example, anytime there's a huge amount of debt being. I'm against it. Whether it be school bonds, they passed a $369 million.
And all that money goes back to Boston and New York.
It all comes back.
They build big buildings that fall apart.
Whether it be school bonds, power plants.
Yeah. The more schools we get, the more textbooks we get, the dumber our kids get.
Right.
Because all the teachers want to shut them.
And the more debt we're in.
And the more Ritalin and the more Prozac, they're fixing to put the kids on Prozac.
You're getting on a lot of different areas.
Well,
what my whole point is that
we're in a police state.
You're getting real close. Okay. In 1990, a paper was written that described the parameters of operation between Title 32, Title 10, law enforcement, whether federal, state, local, etc. And this was a compilation of the Texas Penal Code, of the Bill of Rights, of the Constitution, of Title 10, and Title 32, and all these governing things.
And that's what the thumb scanners, that's what the thumb scanners are all about.
Go ahead and make your point, Happy.
We've
got to get on the video.
I don't want to hold y'all up.
No, go ahead, just make your point.
Right. The point is the paper described in specific detail what the parameters of operation need to be when it comes to collection of information on U.S. citizens by law enforcement, assisted by military personnel. And the paper is no longer exists. And I know it was written because I was one of the co-authors.
You're a right-wing extremist, and you don't love the children. That's all they got to say to you.
No, not exactly.
That's all they got to say
I'm a
to you.
Former intelligence officer.
No, I believe you, but that's all they say to people.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with the FBI NCIC 2000 program?
The collection portion of that program.
That's what the thumb scanners are all about.
You familiar
Our
with,
state government has a federal thumb scanning system.
Let me ask him a question. Okay, are you familiar with the movement towards all the driver's law? All 50 states are moving towards a driver's license with a smart card.
Correct.
With a
correct.
System of,
these are control measures.
You're right. All right, I understand. But really, Hap, really though. Say, do you? Now, this is where the heart of all of this comes. This is the tremendous propaganda machine that someone like Alex and I are up against. If you watch your news segment,
two nights ago,
this is in our best interest.
It's wonderful, but they won't control the criminals.
It's
they're thumb scanning us like common criminals. We're not criminals.
Right.
They will not control crime,
right.
but at the same time, they want us to treat us like criminals because we're good little productive, hard-working slaves.
Well,
they want our private property.
Point,
they want everything.
But it still comes down to a question that the intelligence community, we all used to ask ourselves, so what? What does it mean? What are you going to do? Why do you need to take action or not?
Well, when somebody comes and takes your private property, fight back. Fight back when a thug comes.
That's a little bit too late,
because the people in the intelligence community are expendable.
Useful idiots.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's your answer right there. Everybody's expendable in this house of cards.
Right.
This whole damn world right now.
You're not part of the establishment.
This whole damn world right now is a lie.
You're not part of the establishment.
Well, not
unless
anymore,
you own stock in the Federal Reserve Bank or a World Bank.
Right.
Yeah, if you're worth
expendable.
$100 billion, yeah.
And even some of them are expendable.
Oh yeah.
So the fact is, in this house of cards that we live in, this modern Babylon, anybody in the intelligence community, any local law enforcement. Anybody that whatever realm of thought process that you've swallowed or believe in or working for, you're expendable in this thing.
And something that this does, and then I'm sure we'll go to the video.
Appreciate your call,
yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for your time.
You said a lot. But where this always goes is what Jeff's saying is true. Even these billionaires are expendable because as this corrupt system continues, the consolidation of wealth will continue, and then you'll have one rich elitist turn on another rich elitist, and then it'll consolidate more and more and more, and finally you'll end up with pretty much an empire with an emperor. This happens all through human history. It happened just at the turn of the century. Here in this world that we're living in. And then what happens, all you've got is the king or the few corporate rulers and their military that controls everything, or their peace-love people. It'll be called Peace Love Global for the children, but it'll be a military thug group. And it'll be in our best interest. Then those rulers will be taken over by the military, and then you'll have successive bloody death coups worldwide. That's how the human system works. So you better think about that out there. This is the way human systems work. Read history, get it together. Is that true, Jeff?
It's always in our best interest.
It's in our best interest.
Yeah, they're masters of that in our best interest.
Well, people are a bunch of sheep now.
You know the thing that they prostitute the most is the kids. Man, they prostitute
everything is for the
kids.
children, but
everything's for.
But
the
our
kids.
Kids are going to have an 82% federal tax rate in 19 years.
But they'll be good hands.
Good hands.
Okay. Hey.
Are we going to play that video?
We're going to go ahead and try one more call here. Then we're going to get to the video.
This video is really good.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air, my friend.
Caller?
Hello. Thank you for holding, by the way.
Yeah, we appreciate the callers.
Hi.
How you doing, caller?
Hello.
Well, I guess they're off. Let's go to the next call.
That's all right. Let's just go to the video.
This video's me all over town with Jeff Davis's producer, just talking to the police, going and filming just one site of cameras. They put up about 20 different sites. And people, even people that seem to care, don't know what's going on.
Well, just watch it. I think it's kind of interesting.
It's self-explanatory.
Okay, your callers are on the air. If you want to just stay on the line, we'll get to you when we get back. We are going to take some more calls when we get back. Alex Jones.
Yeah.
See you back, babe.
You bet.
We'll be back.
See, we're not slaves. We argue. That's because we're real human beings. It's okay to argue. Don't be afraid. We're not going to hurt you. Oh, man. We're not good little sheep. We don't run all together and bad in one unison.
All right. Good job. Good job.
So, my name is Alex Jones, host of Exposing Mass Media. Me and Jeff Davis have teamed up to start a group of exposés where we're going to go out and show you just how dumbed down the public are. Also, Jeff Davis's producer has gotten footage off C-SPAN, has taped it with the CFR openly meeting, talking about their global regime of power, openly talking about the future of our Central Intelligence Agency, because there is no lies left for them to tell. They're now out in the open, openly admitting that they wish to seek and control every facet of our lives, and they are doing that, make no mistake. So today, we're going to go out and we're going to talk to a lot of different people. I'm going to go up face to face and ask them simple questions like, do you believe the government was involved in the Oklahoma City bombing? And other questions. And you're going to find that people are shocked, amazed, or will simply probably just run away. But we might find a few souls that actually know something wrong was going on. We're also going to ask police officers out on the street what they think. We're going to see what their reaction is when we politely talk to them. And also, we're going to ask them what they think of the CFR. And I think it's going to be shocking to you to see that they know nothing about it. And then at the end of this segment, we're going to roll some tape that shows you the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, openly meeting in Washington, deciding how you're going to live. And guess what they want? They want your private property. They want to control your children. They want to disarm you. And they want to tax the living hell out of you. So, my thanks to the Jeff Davis Show for helping me out on this project. This will be very informative. And you need to seriously think about this. You might want to call some friends right now and tell them to tune into the Jeff Davis Show so they see this information, because America is really dumbed down. I'm Alex Jones. Hope you enjoy this. We're down here on the UT drag at UT to ask people what they think about the Council on Foreign Relations. And as I think you'll see, most people will roll their eyes about the organized criminal ring that is called the CFR that meets and decides on our daily lives. We'll also ask them other questions about what they think about the right to keep and bear arms, and I'm sure they'll convulse with fear at the very prospect of them being able to repel a oppressive government. But without further ado, let's go ahead and go and talk to the public. Perhaps they'll enjoy hearing what we have to say. All right. I went out and asking people, because have you ever seen C-SPAN?
I have on occasion.
Yes, it's governmental channels. Well, the Council on Foreign Relations is now coming out in the open and talking about their global regime of power, openly talking about their system for world government, which will dissolve world boundaries and where international money interests will control things. Are you aware of this, or would you think this is just an outlandish philosophy of thought to even try to even think about this?
I'm not very aware of what you're discussing.
You're not very aware of it?
What the only comment I would have is that there are issues that affect all of us, like for example, world pollution.
Yes.
And how we address that is done through each of our individual countries, but it doesn't seem like we're making a lot of headway.
So you're saying we might need to have some kind of...
I don't know. I'm just saying that each of our countries is trying to address it, but it doesn't seem to me that, you know, the ozone, for example, we're standing out here in the sun right now.
Getting skin cancer.
Yeah. And there is a problem there, and whether it's being addressed adequately or not, I have an 8-year-old son. I'm concerned for what happens to him in the future. And we just need to find a better way of addressing it. What that way is, I'm not sure myself.
Well, that's great. Are you aware that CFCs have been replaced with HCFCs, which are also bad for the environment? And the only reason that that's been done, they could replace them with HCs, but they haven't, for the simple reason that the chemical companies hold patents on the HCFCs, and that HCs are non-patentable. So really they're making us all convert to a new system, which is just as bad for the environment.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, see, but I mean, some of the alternative press, some chemists will come out and speak about this, but it's a $100 billion a year industry just in this country, and so that's why you really won't hear about it. That's something you might want to check into.
I will.
Thanks a lot for question. I'm not trying to sell you something.
No, okay.
No, I understand. I'm not trying to sell you something. Do you think the Second Amendment should be done away with?
What's the Second Amendment?
The right to keep and bear arms. Do you think we'll be safer as a disarmed population?
No, actually not, because there'll always be the black market. And if we can't have it, then...
Excellent point. There will always be a black market. Good point. I have one quick political question for y'all. This is for this will air on television. Let me ask y'all something. Are y'all familiar with what the Council on Foreign Relations is? Are y'all? Y'all don't know? Well, they're on C-SPAN, and they're deciding how our country's going to be run. So you might want to check it out sometime. Oh, y'all have seen me? Well, listen, the Council on Foreign Relations is real, and universities have laughed at it for a long time, but now they're openly on C-SPAN talking about their global regime of power. And on the television show that will be airing tomorrow night, on the Jeff Davis show, we are going to show, after this interview, what people say about it. We're going to show the CFR. You saw those people just laugh and giggle? They've been taught at UT never to ask questions. Y'all might want to tune in tomorrow night from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. on Cable Channel 10 on Time Warner and check this out, because this is very, very interesting and also very informative. So y'all never heard of the CFR?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No.
Well, what are y'all's names? Am I speaking to the mic? Well, here comes asking people just simple questions, like what they think about the Second Amendment. Do what, sir? Y'all are from Brazil. Yeah. Y'all have the right to keep bear arms down there? Yeah. That's good. Need that down there. What do y'all think about America? Do you think America's a free country? Yeah. You do think it's free? Yeah. I guess we're free to pay outrageous levels of taxes. I'd agree to I'd agree to that. Well, listen, I appreciate y'all commenting on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good one. How are y'all doing? Questions are y'all familiar with the Council on Foreign Relations? CFR? People will usually laugh, like at UT, a professor will in government, if you tell them about the CFR, but C-SPAN. Are you familiar with C-SPAN? It's governmental channels on cable. And on C-SPAN, the Council on Foreign Relations is openly talking about how they pretty much control our government, and all the major heads of industry and government worldwide are members of it 99% of the time. And y'all aren't familiar with that? No. Well, see, that's a problem. We might want to think about that. Tomorrow night on a television program on Austin Access Television, we are going to be talking about this, and we're going to show how we've talked to 20 people, and nobody has known what it is. But when asked about politics, the people that do want to say something say, well, we should just give up our rights for the environment. One man didn't quite say that, but he kind of implied that. And that's kind of what their whole selling point is take away private property. Y'all might want to check into the CFR. Did y'all just see that? I asked that family there, and they had no idea what the CFR was, and then when they felt stupid because they didn't know, they go, well, I'll listen to both sides of the issue. What that meant is I won't know anything, I'll be lazy, but I'll neutralize myself and be a slave. That's what it's all about. Radio and talk show host, and I'm out just asking people real simple political questions. Do y'all feel that our government is actively involved in bringing in drugs to this country?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I hope not.
You hope not? Well, it's a $220 billion a year industry.
Is that taxpayers' money?
Well, they sure use a lot of taxpayers' money to so-called fight the drug war, but it seems like all they're doing with the drug war is watering down the Constitution and taking away our human rights. Pretty scary, huh?
Yep.
Have y'all heard of the Council on Foreign Relations? The CFR?
Yeah.
You have heard of that?
Yep.
And what do you think of the Council on Foreign Relations?
Well, I don't like that idea.
Oh, so you don't like the idea? First person to say that. So when Sandy Berger, member of the Council on Foreign Relations, said in New York City about a month ago on C-SPAN, when he said their global regime of power was moving along ahead of schedule on national television, on national cable television, you don't agree with that?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm not really in politics, so good luck on your next visit.
Fantastic. Hey, you got to fight back not to be a slave. Remember that. How you doing, sir? Hey, I'm ready. I want to ask you just a question or two, sir. I want to ask you a quick question. Have you heard of the Council on Foreign Relations?
Well, wait a minute.
Have you heard of the CFR?
Whoa, wait a minute. Which foreign relations?
The Council on Foreign Relations.
Well, do you have any particular foreign relations in mind?
Think about the Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve?
Yes, the Federal Reserve.
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion about it.
So you really don't have an opinion about the Federal Reserve, but you know they set your interest rates?
Yeah.
They set the fractional reserve banking limits of all the other banks have to pay homage to them. And did you know that they're private? Yes, they're
I didn't know that.
they're in the phone book under private businesses, but you'll never hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, I didn't know that.
Do you know what the CFR is?
No, not really.
Well, the Council of Foreign Relations, they are now on C-SPAN, on television, openly talking about how they're moving forward and deciding how we're going to run our government, because all the most powerful people in our government and in industry get together and are members of it. So, you know, and guess what they're after, in my opinion?
Money?
That's it. More of your tax dollars, and it isn't going for the environment, it isn't going for the children, it's going for the big bankers.
Okay.
Well, hey, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
You'll be on this hot July day asking people, and it's pretty scary. The people that knew the most about this was a bum. Now, the bum didn't really know what he was talking about, but he did have some things to say that were true. He didn't really know how to articulate it, but that's the scary point. And if you want to say, oh, no, that just means you're a bum because the only person that agrees with you is a bum, no. The average people are too busy out shopping and doing things to simply turn on C-SPAN and see the Council on Foreign Relations openly talking about running our country. So let's go ask some more people. Maybe after 100 people, somebody would have watched C-SPAN and know that our government is being eroded and destroyed while a new centralized government, world government, is being set up. Now let's go to talk to the people. So you do watch C-SPAN?
I have watched C-SPAN and other news channels and other forms of media such as NPR.
Oh, National Public Radio?
Yes, which I support.
Now wait, I have one question for you. I don't mean to attack you on this, but I've heard NPR. They were the only people that agreed when in some major cities they had house-to-house searches, mock military drills a few years ago.
Well, I haven't heard that particular story, but I do think that they're more willing than the major media to report anything controversial. They report a lot of, there are a lot of bad governments around the world, and they are willing to report on that corruption.
But don't you think America is the central power in the world with the most tentacles?
Depends on what you mean by tentacles.
Okay, do you think America is, do you think our security agencies and our intelligence agencies are actively involved in the $220 billion narcotics industry just in this country alone?
I think during the Iran-Contra scandal.
Oh, only Ronald Reagan, I see. Not Clinton, and that's all stopped now, even though triple the heroin's flowing in, double the cocaine's flowing in.
Actually, there was some involvement of Clinton in the Iran-Contra scandal, if you recall.
Through Mina Airport.
Yes, through Mina Airport. Now, I, as an average citizen, have heard the stories about that, but I don't think any of us have been allowed evidence to judge that.
Well, then how do you have it with Iran-Contra? I mean, I do believe, too, that drugs were flowing in then, and that certain groups of our intelligence agencies were involved. But hold on. Now triple the drugs are flowing in. Now that more supply, that means that they're doing it more.
Well, yeah, but you also have to understand that since the Reagan administration, the poverty level and the pace of devaluation and the economic pressures on those countries have also gotten greater.
Hold on, so
as well as the environmental causes to preserve the rainforest, leading to different ways of trying to make money.
So anything bad that ever happens in human history after this is going to be Ronald Reagan's fault?
I never said that.
Well, but you're kind of, every person I talk to, they just, who does have something to say, then they start saying something about the rainforest. These same companies, and this is an opinion, these same companies that are out here telling us all day long that they love the environment, they're the ones cutting down the rainforest.
No, what I think is that the problem in South America and Africa and a lot of the places that are impoverished is that it seems like no matter what you do, no matter what you try to protect, the people who get the money are the top few percent of the
That's because they don't have a base rule law of human rights. They have so-called community rights. That's why we need individual rights.
I agree that they need human rights and they need individual rights just like we have the rights in the Constitution.
But you get individual rights, wouldn't you agree, through individual rights, not through community rights? I mean, isn't that kind of an oxymoron?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well,
by
we're always hearing that.
Rights.
We're always hearing. Well, they say that in China. They say that here now. In our country, they say, forget the individual. Everything is community. Well, if the person is the smallest unit of the community, then wouldn't that stand that we should focus on individual rights?
I disagree. I think the framers of the Constitution meant that there were certain rights that were inalienable, even if the rest of the community disagreed with that.
That's what I said, individual. That's what I just said.
I understand.
Do you believe that the Constitution was suspended in 1933, War and Emergency Powers Act?
I think McCarthyism was probably the greatest example of that.
But McCarthyism wasn't in full force. It was a Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that suspended the Constitution in 1933 with the War and Emergency Powers Act.
Well, I'm not very familiar with that. I do know, however, from...
You just know McCarthy's bad and Ronald Reagan's bad. And
You're putting words in my mouth.
Well, I'm not sitting here defending the Republicans. I'm just saying it's funny how that's how they've got it working on us. People are obsessed with only one group and then never really see the true viper that's in our midst.
Would you like me to answer the
question? Sure, go ahead.
On NPR recently.
NPR told you? I'm sorry.
On NPR, yes, I'm quoting NPR. Recently, they stated that there were a number of constitutional challenges that were made before the New Deal could go into effect. And I think that's where you see a lot of the collectivism over individual rights come in.
Yes.
So I agree with you on that point. As
Fantastic.
far as the War and Powers Act, I have no understanding.
You better check into it. That is the law by which they've set up a parallel government that's not even secret anymore. One more quick question. Are you for the right to keep and bear arms, the Second Amendment, or do you believe that we should disarm the general populace?
I believe that the populace should have a right to keep and bear arms, although I feel that the framers, while they tried to look forward as far as they could, did not look forward to today. I think you have to ask yourself two questions. There are two forms of arms that you need to wonder if people need to have. One's a handgun, which has been attacked. The other is a nuclear weapon. Would you be for your neighbor having a nuclear weapon?
No, I don't think anybody was talking about a neighbor having a nuclear weapon. I would like to have weapons that the average criminal has so that I can oppose them.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, either you are for the right to keep and bear arms or you're not. If you're going to say that we need to keep
I think we should all be able to have Death Stars, too. Have you ever heard of the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations?
No, I haven't.
You've never heard of the CFR? No, you haven't? What do you think about the Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms? Think we should get rid of that?
I think people have the right to have a gun.
You do?
Yeah. I think
Wow,
they
that's
know
good.
How to use it, if they should
Yeah. Well, why do you think the government wants to disarm the people?
Probably because there's too many dangerous people out there.
Well, but why isn't the government controlling the criminals?
I don't know, because they're too wild. It's hard to control them. There's no real way to control them.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. What do you think of the CFR, man? Never heard of it? No. I hear you. Take care. Let's get it. How y'all doing? Can I ask y'all a quick political question to be on a documentary? How y'all doing? Okay, guys. Just a couple quick questions. Do y'all think that the U.S. government is shipping in drugs or is at least allowing certain drug corridors to stay open? Sure. Of course they are. It's a $220 billion industry. Good answer.
You mean the illicit industry? They're illicitly shipping it?
Well, I mean, even ex-CIA directors have admitted that the CIA needs to be abolished. There's too much power. It's too consolidated. But I'm asking y'all, do you believe that the government is actively involved with shipping in drugs? Mm-hmm. You do? Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. I'm glad some people are actually answering the questions the way I would see it. Do you think that we're living in a free country today here in this nation? Mm-hmm. Oh, you do think we're living in a free country? Free country. Mm-hmm. You just think there's why? How can the government be shipping in drugs, but at the same time we be living in a free country when they're rapidly taking away the Second Amendment, devaluing the First Amendment, and the 10th Amendment's being ignored, state rights, the Supreme Court rules that the Brady Law is unconstitutional, but the states just ignore it because they know who has the power, the federal thugs. Here we are at the headquarters of the Austin Police Department, and I'm going to try to talk to some police officers and ask them what they think about the federal government more and more controlling how they serve the public, and if they think that that is an infringement like the Supreme Court does. And I might also ask them why the states and locales are choosing to ignore the Supreme Court rulings on the Brady Bill and other things being unconstitutional according to the 10th Amendment. Now, let's go ask. You ready? How's it going? I'm trying to find police and air conditioning. I got an Access television show and I got a radio show. My name's Alex Jones, and all I'm doing is I just want to ask police what they think about the Supreme Court trying to strike down the Brady Law, and I wanted to ask anybody, I don't even care if it's a spokesman, just any person, if I have to, I'll go to a 7-Eleven and ask a cop, just what cops, average cops think. Like, what do you think of the, let's say, did you hear about how last Friday, or 2 Fridays ago, the Supreme Court struck down the Brady Law saying that it was unconstitutional as a 10th Amendment states' rights violation? And then I personally was shocked by how the local police forces all over the country and... Turn off that camera. You want to turn off the camera? Yep. Cameras aren't allowed in here? Oh, you don't want to be photographed. Okay, is it all right if he aims the camera at the ground and then I just get your voice?
I don't like the way you went about this whole thing.
Okay, well, anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was breaking.
The camera's going and everything else going, so you know, let us know what's going on.
Well, I'm in the media. It's not? They didn't really tell me. I'm sorry. Well, I mean, 7-Eleven's up, they probably won't want to talk to me either. I don't know. I didn't think y'all was the Gestapo or anything. I just was trying to talk to whoever. Okay. Well, I just walked in and said my name was Alex Jones and just asked you what you thought of the Supreme Court ruling it was unconstitutional, and then the states knowing who really runs things, the federal government, and saying, okay, Supreme Court, and just kind of laughing at them. That's all. Boy, isn't that interesting. We're waiting on the watch commander. He might come down and talk to us. Hope he does. Nice and cool in here. We'll let her do our interviews in the air conditioning from now on. Yeah. He may be coming somebody, I don't know. No, he looks like he's off duty. How you doing, sir? Hey, sir, officer. How come you don't want to talk to us? Just don't want to? See, I don't want to just go talk to, just like some head bureaucrat that's trying to be a good little boy and girl so they can go up and work for Janet Reno like, the last person. Seems like, and I know that average cops on the beat, I mean, I've had family that was in intelligence agencies and things like that. And my name's Alex Jones, by the way. I'm actually on FM Talk Radio. I mean, I'm just trying to find out why the Supreme Court's is totally being ignored, and state and local governments all over the country are saying, well, forget the Supreme Court. We're just going to do what big government says. And, I mean, you can't even tell me as a citizen what your own views are on those things?
You're talking to me as a police officer, and you're asking my opinion as a citizen. You're trying to get two different things here.
But don't you swear an oath to protect the citizenry?
Okay, you asking me as a police officer, or you asking me as a citizen?
I'm asking you as a citizen.
Okay, because a minute ago you're asking me as a citizen. And I know you're taping all this, and I don't appreciate you coming up. I already told you I didn't want to give you a comment a minute ago, and now you're reapproaching me trying to get another comment out.
Oh, I won't harass you. I'm sorry.
Well, I already told you this once, didn't I?
Hey,
I didn't want to talk to you about it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I called the police officers earlier and asked them.
I'm being paid by the city of Austin to work right now. They don't want me out here giving political statements about my opinion as a citizen. They want me upstairs doing my job.
Oh, okay, great. Well,
so that's why I told you no comment. That's why I didn't want to talk to you.
Well,
the city.
It's just when I called the police earlier this week, they said they'd call me back, and they never did.
Well, I don't know who you talked to, sir. You need to call the administration back.
Yeah, I've got this. I've been given this. Thanks a lot. Well, as you can see, the police state's gearing up well. No one wants to speak out. No one wants to be counted. Everyone wants to just scurry along in the pack mentality. Alex Jones isn't about to do that. Well, me and Jeff Davis's cameraman, we've been having some trouble finding police that want to talk to us. But what we have been able to do is find plenty of cameras that are sprouting up on lots of your major intersections and highways here in Austin, Texas. Why? Here's 2 telephoto cameras now. Right here for us to enjoy, peeking in, making sure we behave ourselves like good little children should. Ah, yes, smart highways are on the way too, and the thumb scanning systems have been put in 36 of the 50 states now and are integrated into the National Security Agency under the control of NSA and CIA under that branch, hooked into the National Surveillance Center and the National Identification Center. Big Brother's growing stronger day by day, and no one wants to talk about it. And when the Supreme Court says something's wrong, like the 10th Amendment violation of the Brady Bill, everyone just ignores them. Well, go back to your football games and your cheeseburgers. This is the world of love. Now back to more corruption. Ah, look at them. Beautiful little cameras. And they're putting... Oh, and also, here we are, just about 150 yards away from the nice cameras. There's a Texas Department of Transportation. And no wonder they have one of their nice little camera pods watching over us as we speak. There's cameras over there on the highway, and there's camera right there in that camera pod looking at us on the corner of that building. Yes, Big Brother always likes to have lots of cameras around their happy little places so they can watch us and make sure we're being good. But don't worry, they're not going to round up those violent criminals. Oh no, those are at a premium, because if we have to have criminals that are terrorizing us, or we won't beg to have our rights taken away. That's what it's all about, my friends. Now, let's go to a shopping mall here in town and let's see what people have to say about CFR out of control, about the Gulf War syndrome, and about many other interesting facts that have been proven now, but that people refuse to admit exist. Let's go check it out. Number one, do y'all think that our federal government and its security agencies are allowing massive amounts of drugs to at least flow into this country?
I've heard many theories on that, you know, things like that. I don't know if I believe it or not, but I've heard a lot about that. So.
Well, yes.
I wouldn't put it past them, I guess.
Well, it's a $220 billion industry just in narcotics alone. What do y'all think about the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms?
I think it's a good right.
You think it's great?
Of course, man. I mean,
that's why they don't like Generation X, because they know we're really not slaves like they want.
Yeah, they know what we're going to do.
Fantastic, because y'all aren't afraid of law-abiding systems with firearms, are you? It's the criminals we should be afraid of, and the federal government.
They're going to have the guns either way.
They're going to have the guns either way. Yeah. Okay. Are y'all familiar with UN biospheres and how 25 of our national parks have now been turned over to international control, which is directly controlled by foreign banks?
No, I haven't heard of that. That's pretty wild, though.
You hadn't heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
Pay that much attention to it, man. I wish I did, but we don't.
You got to speak out against evil now or submit in silence later. Well, just one more question. Do y'all think do you think the country is more of a free country now than it was 10 years ago?
Yes.
It definitely
In some
is.
senses.
Well, sure. Free, I mean, in my opinion, you would be free culturally with sex and things like that.
A lot more open-minded.
Yeah, open-minded to things that are nebulous and surface-oriented. Do you think it's open-minded when it comes to them what do you think about cameras being put up at lots of major intersections and being integrated with the federal?
That's a cheap way to give a ticket, I think. I mean,
you got it.
Gonna slap
Control, exactly. Make more money.
I don't like that.
You don't like that? What do you think about the thumb scanners that are being put in to get a driver's license and the same systems?
I don't don't like that. It has all your information on your driver's license. You slap your thumbprint on there, it has all your information.
And did you know the same system's being put in New York in their banks and in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's all integrated? What do you think about business and the federal government having the same system that's integrated in Langley, Virginia at the National Security Agency headquarters and at the National Surveillance Center and the National Identification Center? Wow. Big Brother.
That's a trip. That is Big Brother and a half right there.
And why is no one talking? Okay, last question. In y'all's opinion, why does the mainstream media not want to alert us to the police state?
I don't know. I wish I do.
Because 267 million Americans, even though a lot of us don't make very much money, altogether taxing us over 52% on average, they're making one hell of a lot of money. $360 billion in foreign interest payments to the foreign banks, i.e. foreign governments, last year in 1996. Think about it, man.
Thanking our government, man.
Oh, that they love us.
Oh, yeah.
They help the children.
But then again, government is just like a set of laws.
It's force, it's power.
To help our society
you
get
can't
along.
not have government. It has to be in a, there has to be some government, but
I agree,
it's getting out of hand. It's getting worse and worse, and they control more and more these days.
That's right. They're the radicals. They're the radicals. All I'm saying is I want government to stop growing. Right. Guys, fantastic interview. This will be on the Jeff Davis Show tomorrow night from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. on Channel 10.
I will watch it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
He got his food. He don't want to talk about the Nazis taking over. See there, people? Bread and circus. I saw that guy on purpose. He had his food in his hand. He did not want to talk. See that, folks? He had food in hand. He did not want to talk. Bread and circus, baby. But you, Waco, did you see the film Waco Rules of Engagement?
No.
They show the FBI machine gunning the people and catching the place on fire?
Really?
Yes, that was...
I didn't miss that.
The Augsburger Statesman had it on its cover page, and,
really?
And even itself, but then they said, well, the feds were just mentally ill, is all they said.
Oh, really? Yeah, that happens sometimes. It's either postal or...
Yeah, so the feds are out. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that information, sir.
Oh, sure. On the
Branch Davidian.
I thought it was kind of cool, them holed up in there for a while, and, they waited their time until it was just getting out of hand. I mean, financially, I just thought it was a huge waste of money, it's just like, just back out of there and wait, and then, pick them off the streets later on. It's not like they're going to stay holed up in there the entire time. I probably would have just left them be and just wait for them to come out on their own volition.
I mean, for them to camp out in front, you know, for, what was it, a month and a half, 2 months? I don't remember. Yeah. But, yeah, I just thought that was
playing
crazy
the sounds of squealing, dying rabbits and Nancy Sinatra with demons talking in the background, heavy metal music, 24 hours a day with blaring lights, and then to pump in thousands of gallons of a banned chemical weapons CS gas. Yeah, that wasn't too nice, was it?
It's not really the nice factor. I mean, sometimes you do what you have to do, but it's the financial factor.
But Hitler didn't do what he had to do, did he?
No, Hitler was evil.
Because he killed people.
Oh, well.
And that's wrong.
Yeah, well.
Was that a government out of control?
Government out of control, yes.
Sorry to interrupt your classic viewing, but here is Jeff Davis. What is it?
Legendary Jeff Davis show.
And what should they do?
Well,
subscribe to.
I gotta make my proper
Okay,
introduction.
Go ahead.
Legendary Jeff Davis show, baby. From Central Texas, USA. Best in the world for 30 years.
And you're watching some 25-year-old.
We're watching Mike Hanson archives here on Facebook. Now, Mike, tell us about your...
Okay, well, you don't interrupt. Let's go right back to Jeff Davis.
All right, this is Jeff
Austin, Texas. We are back. And we just saw the video there with Alex and Mike on a little tour of the Jeff Davis show. That was yesterday. And a few more tidbits here. Well, go ahead. Hit them with that first.
Well, at the first of the show, Jeff talked about how he went up north to the Mammoth Cave. And I have to admit, offhand, is this in Ohio?
Kentucky.
Kentucky?
Yeah.
Okay, I was there when I was a little kid, but I totally forget. I've been there in Carlsbad and all those other places. It says, Cave Country, Tourist Guide, Mammoth Cave, World Heritage Site. Well, that kind of, you know, that kind of sounds neat, doesn't it there? Well, you open it up, and I guess we'll get a close shot of this again. You are always welcome at Mammoth Cave Hotel, Mammoth Cave National Park, International Biosphere Reserve, a World Heritage Site, longest cave system in the world, over 340 miles. Okay, this is a national treasure. We still pay to upkeep it, but we just turn it over to the UN because it's a fist of the international banks that hold all our debt now. And we had callers earlier that said they didn't think it was a problem, us giving up our national property free and then upkeeping it. They didn't think there's a problem with us giving the naval base at Long Beach, California, to the Chinese Costco company, a company that got caught shipping in automatic weapons and is linked to Asian Mafia triad heroin running rings. Bill Clinton's got millions from them and seems to like Costco. And is trying to get them more naval bases, and they've also gotten the air base there in California. Did you hear about that, Jeff?
No, I haven't heard that.
So here's the right-wing propaganda. Let's get a close-up.
Here's the right.
Here is the right-wing devil worship, kill evil. It is a brochure from a national. Well, now it's not a national park.
Actually,
it's now a UN biosphere. You are always welcome. Oh, look. International Biosphere Reserve under UN control. And what's the name of that UN company that controls it?
UNESCO.
UNESCO. Isn't that loving? So this is the right-wing literature that we give you information from.
Picked up at the rest area in Kentucky.
Yeah, rest area. Oh, and also, again, back to the Dallas Morning News from today, General defines Marines who shot U.S. teen on border. Defends them. And then it says, under federal law, the military can assist law enforcement with surveillance and other duties, but military units cannot make arrests or searches or are trained to shoot only in defense. But they are shooting people. And I'm not knocking police here, people. I'm knocking the leadership of our country. And now there is no state and local government. There's only federal. And they ignore the Supreme Court. Just look what they just did with the Brady bill. Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional under 10th Amendment, states' rights. Everybody just ignores it, Jeff. What would you say about that?
Let me just mention one other thing, a couple other pieces of information here. Two stories that I saw when I was in on my travelings. One was that Clinton announces crackdown on drugs. Okay, the drug war is going to be expanded. Of course, this is in our best interest. Keep in mind, folks, the international bankers and the people that control the system have set up a system of where they themselves, through the CIA and other mechanisms, are bringing the drugs into the country. Okay, the war on drugs in Mexico and these other similar countries is nothing more than an opportunity to wipe out any competition that the big drug runners might have. Now, this war on drugs is nothing more than a smoke and mirrors situation to to create chaos and to create a war on people and a war on guns and the Second Amendment.
Government never has any programs of trying to take rights. They don't have any forethought. Jeff, nobody's doing it. Quit being a conspiracy theorist.
If you get into the Hegelian principle, here it is.
Give me that. The Dallas Morning News is right-wing.
Yeah, right.
It's a lie.
With that, we'll go ahead and we'll try a few calls here. We're here with Alex Jones, local radio talk show host, and
we're just two maniacs in here trying to get you people to get up. I mean, that's all I want.
On the line, we have line 1 is Chris. You're on the air, Chris.
Chris, you're on the air.
Are you with us, Chris?
Hello?
Hi, sir.
Hi. Yes. Why do we all keep talking about the Constitution, which I'm all for, when it was supposedly done away with back in 1933 by the War on Emergency Act?
I'm sorry, go ahead. 1933.
Good
right.
point. Yeah, go ahead.
War of Emergency.
Let me just clarify, Chris. It was suspended in 1933. But go ahead.
Okay. Are you saying that it was reinstated?
No, it's been suspended.
Well, what they do is there's two trains. There's the government bureaucrat train controlled by the bankers that's running here, and then we used to run on this train. They're slowly switching our train, representative democracy, over to the other track. But they've built the apparatus of slavery and control over the last 65 years.
Another interesting point that happened during 1933, and of course this was under FDR, that great man that created the New Deal. They made you a criminal to have gold. If you can remember 1933, and I know this to be a fact because I was just visiting people at my homeland in Ohio, that confirmed in 1933 the average American was a criminal if you contained gold.
That's true, Jeff.
You owned gold.
Well, it's going to get that way again. I mean, they've already started implementing laws against what they call hoarding.
Yes, sir. Okay, but go ahead.
That's food.
Go ahead, Chris. They haven't enforced it yet, but it's in the book. But go ahead,
Chris.
Chris.
Food, you might kill somebody with a bag of peas or something.
That's right.
Just like guns. We got to get rid of this food. Huh?
Go ahead,
I
Chris.
think the whole idea is so that people can't survive in bans.
So we're dependent.
Huh?
Yeah, so we'll be dependent on
Yes, so we'll be dependent. Absolutely.
Well, something you said about the War and Emergency Powers Act, most people don't even want to think about that. And Jeff was talking about it being illegal to own gold back in
You were a criminal.
Yes.
You were made a criminal.
And this is a well-known case. The Firestore Corporation in the late 30s got in trouble, had to pay like $1 million in fines. They make tires. The Firestone family, which then owned the corporation back then, set up dummy corporations in Europe to buy U.S. gold because it was legal for Europe to buy gold at cut-rate prices. So a bunch of bankers got together here, made us take our gold in, and they handed us paper notes back that the Federal Reserve controlled. So they took up all our gold ingots, people used to trade in gold. They took our gold
our
up.
Money used to be silver and gold certificates.
Yes, they handed us back paper. They handed us back paper backed by the bankers that they the foreign bankers, and then shipped all our gold to foreign countries and then made us think it was all put in Fort Knox. I got news for you. There's no gold in Fort Knox, my friends, and the Firestone Corporation family got in trouble for trying to buy U.S. gold.
Underground vault in Switzerland.
Yes, it's all gone. This isn't us speculating. This isn't a conspiracy. This is facts.
Go ahead, Chris, with your point.
Also, there's an analogy I'd like to make, a hypothetical analogy of an FBI statement. Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Take your time.
These are dangerous times, citizens. There are terrorists lurking everywhere. Our government is trying to protect us, though. For instance, the FBI would like to turn the developing information highway into a gigantic surveillance system capable of monitoring anyone's phone calls, email, or credit card expenditures. Just think of us as a caring, watchful relative, like a big brother. But heck, why stop there? Why not give law enforcement officials the power to search anyone's home at any time and for no particular reason? They'd sure catch a lot of criminals then, for that matter.
Also, something that you just said is true, caller. Chris, is the first point. These smart highways are being designed. There is a national identification and national surveillance centers in Langley, Virginia that control the whole system. They're putting it online. These systems, the computer systems are made by Lockheed Martin Marietta, and everybody's buying the same system. And the key is they're not trying to stop the criminals. It's all about controlling us like a UPS package. They'll know wherever you are. You won't have to have a chip. Your thumb scan will be a signature, and believe me, you'll have a chip off in a computer system somewhere that your thumbprint activates, and they'll know where you buy gas, where you go, what you buy, everything about you.
What's your
and
yeah, well, Alex, what's more important?
Let me just mention
few measly constitutional rights or an orderly society.
Or lovingness.
You know what's all interesting about that, Chris, is they do it under the disguise of the criminals, right? Who are the biggest criminals there are?
Well, we know who they are.
The Washington District of Criminals.
You bet.
So they use this smoke and mirrors tactic as a device to get the people sucked into this enslaving system under the disguise of the criminals that they have been unable or unwilling to actually to control. So they use this disguise of crime to enslave all of us.
Okay, Alex?
Yes.
Yes, I talked to you on your show last week, and I don't want to get really back into it, but I talked to you about basically being kidnapped from my apartment and being taken away, and
when you had back problems?
Our local
yeah.
system here.
So you had a back problem, and your girlfriend called 911, and they tried to say you were on drugs.
That's exactly right. And got treated for an overdose, which I had not. I was totally coherent when I collapsed. I had a friend that was over. He saw me in the kitchen fixing something to eat. Like I said, I really don't want to get back into this. But it's really hit home with me about how much the evil regime has hit down on the lower levels of, getting down into the levels of what I was talking about. I really don't want to name any names that I named last time. I'm kind of trying to watch my back on that.
Let me just mention to you this, though, Chris. The one aspect of hope in all of this is that the people that were actually doing the enforcers, are expendable. So that's the one hope. If they can be educated,
they're expendable.
how that they're dupes in a crooked, wicked system, enforcing enslaving laws amongst their own kind, then maybe we can turn some of these enforcers to when the time hits the fan, maybe they will turn their guns on the real enemy.
Well, yeah, when the time hits the fan, that's the whole. I totally agree. That's the whole crux of the whole thing. Is when the time hits the fan. If that time doesn't hit the fan,
well, I know some
and if the people don't respond at the right time, well, our children are going to be under a tyrannical government.
I know ex-intelligence officers, highly decorated in Vietnam. I'm not going to name any names here, but very, very personal to me, who've talked about this, who were in Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, did things for the government. Also, I talked to law enforcement officials when I looked at weights and things, but they don't want to be quoted. I talk to a lot of people. I read some police magazines that are mainstream, and they all say these big police unions do not represent us. The leadership is totally corrupt. They know what's going on. And Jeff, you're right. Jack McClam's right. That's our ultimate only hope.
Yeah, it is.
That the Roman centurions are maybe good people.
People within the
mechanism won't crucify us.
Turn against them. That's right.
Okay. Well, my closing comment.
That's why they're going to use UN troops, though. I'm sorry.
Well, that's true. Foreign troops, have no loyalty to America.
40,000 UN troops are on our soil.
It is.
And here is, and again, I told you, over 25 national parks have been given over to the UN.
And keep in mind, it doesn't even have to be UN.
Here's Cave Country Tourist Guide. Again.
Let me just make this point out. It doesn't have to be UN even. It could be 2 million Chinese troops in here that have no loyalty to America.
And they now control the Panama Canal.
So it could be.
Why does the mainstream press not tell us about that?
The fact is, tyranny can come in any.
That they have both sides of the Panama Canal, and that Clinton's giving them naval bases and air bases now, and the New York Times will show it like it's no problem. You know why? Because China's got $1.25 billion slave, and these international bankers have no allegiance to 275 million Americans. They want that slave labor in China, that $1.25 billion people. So they're selling us down the river, and they're letting the Chinese get the Panama Canal, our major ports.
It may be for enforcement, though.
Yes, I believe. I'm starting. Listen,
maybe.
Jeff. 6 months ago, I didn't believe you.
Yeah.
But I see the New York Times now openly talking about this like it's no problem, and I see them putting up cameras everywhere.
I think we're being set up.
Am I still on the air?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
China not only has 20 million people in slave labor camps, and not only is there cannibalism going on over there, it's in a lot of other areas of the world. But speaking of China, I heard actually on, I believe it was on KJFK on the news at the top of the hour when I was listening to a talk show, that they had missiles, nuclear missiles pointed at us. And
I'm talking about the Chinese?
The Chinese did.
Sir, they have got, and this is UN weapons inspectors, of course, by the way, tell us that, so I don't even believe what they say, 25 multiple warhead MIRV missiles that are intercontinental full range. They've also got about 100 medium range that could hit Alaska and Hawaii in places. But they've got 25 missiles that have 12 missiles in each missile. You do the math yourself that they admit they have. And Bill Clinton just sold them the Patriot missile technology, but he's not allowing us to develop further new systems that could stop. And I'm talking about peaceful missiles.
Let me chime in on that.
Why are they selling us out?
Well, let me first off, I personally don't believe that we're going to have a nuclear war.
No, I don't either.
No.
Let me tell you why. Because the slave masters own the real estate in this country. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen because it's all controlled by the same.
It's a created enemy
at the top.
Right, they're financing both sides.
Okay.
So I don't believe that. So I wanted to make that.
Well, I guess that's a diversion, more or less.
It's a diversion.
Right now, the European and U.S. elites that are allied when it comes to screwing taxpayers of the 7 industrialized nations are whining and dining China, kissing China on the cheek, saying, we love how you do business, we love your infanticide, we love it that you use baby parts for cosmetics. You know, that's what collagen comes from. It's supposed to come from.
I know.
Yeah, but even Ted Koppel just now on the news on Nightline, I showed a cut of it one time. Somebody said I was a liar on the air, and then my producer played a cut of it. Right there, it showed Ted Koppel saying, yes, 30 million died, and some of those were eaten by cannibalism. He didn't tell you it was children during Mao Zedong's wonderful revolution that professors at UT will tell you was a good thing. Some of them will. But we have to understand that people on TV now are telling us there's no good leaders, there's no bad leaders, there's just leaders, right-wing extremists. We're not right-wing extremists. But A&E last night, we watched a documentary, or it was a tape that we watched last night off A&E, and it sat there and it showed these experts on the CFR and the government saying, the CFR is not a problem, there's not good leaders, there's not bad leaders. And I wanted to say to them, what are they introducing into our thought processes? Processes. Yes, there have been bad leaders all through history. I think you can name a few of them, can't you?
We all can.
Of course. No, but they're teaching our kids that there is no good and bad.
Well, they're trying to say that it's all gray.
Actually, the leaders that are presented there are phony.
But why are we whining and dining China? I know why, but what's your spin on it?
Why?
$1.25 billion slaves, right? We want that slave labor, correct?
Who is it? But is it the IMF that's doing it? As far as I heard, the IMF had the claws on China.
Yes, every government there is. All of the industrial.
It could be that they are going to use China as part of the Chinese military as part of their coup against the. Look at it this way. We've got many of our troops now in Bosnia, Peru, and all over the world enforcing what I believe world order policy. It's only a likely scenario that they're going to do that with us, knowing that American enforcement officers won't turn against us. They'll use foreigners in here with no loyalty to do it.
Now, people are laughing at you, but that's.
I'm not worried about what. I'm not worried about what.
But that's what you're right, Jeff. That's what the UN. I didn't used to believe this. That is what the UN is all about. It's about taking foreign troops and inserting them in countries you want to control. Because soldiers of a country don't want to shoot at their own people.
Of course, it's in their best interest every time.
It's in their best interest.
Yeah, Bosnia, they had this.
Iraq, we funded. George Bush created Iraq.
Somalia.
George Bush created Iraq, and so did the Democrats.
Somalia.
Where all our troops got killed. It just goes on and on. But anyways, here it is. One more time. You are always welcome at Mammoth Cave Hotel,
God,
Mammoth Cave National Park, International Biosphere Reserve, and Worldwide Heritage Site. People told me, but I was full of it, even though I've been to.
This is right wing.
Yeah.
This is right wing.
This is a brochure for the Cave Country Tourist Guide. This is right wing. See, we're right wing liars. We're telling you that the UN's getting most of our national parks now are the jewels of our national parks, but we still pay for it. But the foreign banks get to own them.
Isn't that nice? They did now when they sold the slaves the promise of national park.
They took our gold, Jeff, for that.
Yeah, that's what they got.
They took our gold back in 1933.
Isn't that nice?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Isn't that nice?
And they gave us paper back and made it illegal for us for about 20 years to use gold as a commodity, and they shipped our gold to Europe where the real rulers live.
They even took the silver out of our coins. You know, in 1964, our coins, our dimes and quarters used to have silver in them. Not anymore.
Jeff,
not anymore.
We don't even have copper in pennies anymore.
Yeah, this is how greedy these bastards are.
And pretty soon it's going to be all thumb scanning. You'll have little cash, little plastic credits, maybe with little metal, in the middle or something, and you'll have to scan your thumb. In 5 years, this is the plan. It's been openly spoke about. You'll just scan your thumb when you pay cash.
Hey, you're just up there.
Hey,
right when
yeah. Well, and their excuse for all this thumb scanning that they're putting in at grocery stores and banks and at the DPS office. See. Corporations joining up with the government, state and local and national. What's going to happen in the end of this whole game? That's what's going to happen. They're going to know everything you buy, everything you sell.
It's called a new world order.
Yeah, it's called globalist community.
That's what the game's
globalist.
called.
And in the end, what's it going to end up looking like? They're going to tell us it's so there's no tax fraud. Oh, you won't have to have a spool on your cash register.
And the smart highways.
It'll all be digital. It'll all be digital.
And smart highways.
No more freedom. No more having money in your pocket. All of them.
Yeah, but that's okay. We'll have credits, and then on the highways, if you get stranded, they'll know where you are. Come help you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I don't know really what's going to happen in the end.
Jeff, you get a little. Thanks, but it's good.
What's that, brother?
I really don't. I don't know what's going to happen in the end. I know it looks like a hopeless situation.
Well, they
seems
believe
like
they
won.
won.
Remember, I said it seems that way. Hopefully, it's not. I will do everything within my power to counter what's going on. But Big Brother is in power. We are in a police state, and I've seen it in action.
Have been for a long time. It's not something that's coming. Let me tell you.
I'd rather be a dead man in my grave than a puppet or a slave, and that's about all I have to say.
Hey,
okay.
Your first name's Chris, right?
Yeah.
You're still Chris.
Yeah, Alex. I talked to one of your producers. One of your producers called me, last week.
That was probably my producer. But let me just mention to you, Chris, that this is not something that's in the future. We're living in Babylon. I mean,
we're in the game
and have been for a long time.
And how they do it is they hand power to petty minions, their little enforcers, whether it's UT professors, that spout the socialist line that tell us it's good for us. No matter who it is, the so-called environmentalists that make excuses to take our private property and give it over to international bodies.
Oh, it goes. Look at that up there.
He goes on and on and on. I mean, this is what it's all about. So you petty minions out there that feel like you got a good life because you got a Cadillac and a nice house or whatever, people, I got stuff too, and it doesn't mean jack.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't
You're
mean
still
jack.
a duplicit slave. They throw you some chicken feed so you be a good slave. That's all it amounts to. Look at that up there. Throw that back up there. I like that up there. Look, what, you got a comment on that?
Well, that was the man.
That's the monster there.
And then right after that, they passed income tax because they had to have something to service the debt because we were going to become their debt slaves. We didn't decide to go into debt with these guys. They forced us. They took over.
Yeah. There's been our best answer.
There's been a coup of our government. Organized crime. Organized crime has taken over.
In 1929, supposedly we had a stock market crash.
Yeah,
course,
and they created
that was the biggest.
They created that.
They created that.
Mike, are you familiar?
Nightline won't tell you that.
Have you read Churchill's memoirs?
I would have to say
they're in like 3 different published books
familiar,
because different people have them. In there, he talks about how when he came to visit in the great stock market crash on that black day, he talks about how J.P. Morgan brought him in and said, "Watch my power," and they called in the short-term stock trader loans. And the whole system fell, and then the banks, who had been loaning out lots of money, suddenly restricted money on purpose and did it for years and years and years to drive the American people into submission.
$8 billion.
Yeah. Then they took up all the gold because they turned us into slaves then, and now we're just seeing how they're wanting to put more and more. They're using technology.
Hey, another thing too.
Technocracy.
When the system went down, who do you think bought up all the homes and the farms and the
consolidation of power? Old money seeks to destroy new money. They don't. They want.
What's that there? A super. Oh yeah.
A super state controlled by internationalist bankers.
You know about that, Chris?
Looks familiar looks
Go ahead,
familiar.
Alex will
Yeah.
read it to
A
us.
super state controlled by international bankers and international industrialists acting together to enslave the world for their own pleasure. Representative Lewis McFadden, Democrat. And there were also, so there were people from both parties, lots of them, who were talking. I mean, in fact, they tried to vote in the Federal Reserve Act 3 times.
Yeah,
and it got defeated. Finally, they all voted.
Well, you know what
at
they
midnight.
did?
They voted at midnight when everybody was gone.
Yeah, but they had two bills. One they gave the Democrats, and one was like the South Banking Act, and the other one was the Federal Reserve Act. One was for the Democrats were presenting, the other one was the Republicans presenting. And of course, the president that won was Woodrow Wilson at the time, and he signed in the Federal Reserve Act in 1913.
Why would our politicians
and then,
do
let
that?
me just
Why
mention
would our politicians do
that
that?
created the central bank, and 2 months later we created the federal income tax. Now why? Now think of everything that's happened since that central bank.
These are parasites, people.
Income tax. Think about that. All the wars we've had that they financed, the debt that's piled.
They created Hitler. Henry Ford gave Bill Clinton. Adolf Hitler. Excuse me, I slipped there.
But you're a theorist.
$20,000 gift on his birthday and made millions of dollars in his ball bearing factories.
But you're a theorist.
Yeah.
Well, are you sure that Janet Reno is not the daughter of Adolf Hitler?
Well, I think she is. Listen to this. Here's another fact.
Hey, I'm just another wacko
Put the
out there,
Bolsheviks
okay?
back up on there. The Bolshevik Revolution, over $200 million that is traceable, went to the Bolsheviks from the Bank of England, Chase Manhattan and Citibank, J.P. Morgan interest, Rockefeller interest, Arm & Hammer interest. We sent them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Who's that leader?
That's Lenin. From the turn of the century, on MTV, the new thing is.
Boy, you're a theorist.
Yeah, that's. Hey, on MTV.
Oh yeah, the new thing
hey,
is.
Hey, hold on. Look at Mike Tyson. Look at Mike Tyson. He's got mousy. Hold on. Look at Mike Tyson. He's an idiot, but he has mousy tongue on his arm.
Yeah.
You watch the MTV Music Awards. You see Lenin's picture on
no,
everybody's
I don't
shirts.
watch that crap, but I know about it.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is I didn't even know this. I was watching MTV, and half the rock stars were wearing Lenin shirts, Trotsky shirts, all these communist leader shirts that killed 50 million people, and one black guy was wearing a Stalin shirt. And then you got, it's just incredible.
Yeah, and they got it tattooed onto their own bodies, too.
Yeah, they're just tattooing murderers all over them, but UT tells us here in town, hey, if they're communists, they're okay, but if they're another kind of murderer, they're bad.
Oh, and Chris, one other point.
The bankers created the communists.
Let me, they did. Did you realize how far we've been into communism in the last 70 years?
But wait, communism is for the people. Bankers wouldn't want that.
No, but most people don't.
Communism isn't communism. It's an excuse to take your wealth, and the bankers are international. So they make this country communist, take everybody's wealth, make this country communist, take everybody's wealth, make this country communist. If people don't want communism, they repackage it as love, good children. That's just communism. And then they take everything there. They're taking your money.
Let me just mention this. Let me just mention this. We have been in, if you study communism, the central bank, the graduated income tax, the public schools, free schooling for the kiddies, the property tax.
Put them on Ritalin.
We've had all of this now for 50 years.
Put them on Prozac.
Now, what were we supposedly in Vietnam fighting for? Oh, the spread of communism.
Yeah, well,
we got to stop those communists in Vietnam.
But we can't.
10,000 miles
But our
away.
generals told them, go into Cambodia, defeat the enemy. But no, we can't defeat them. We can't defeat them.
Created enemies, baby. That's how they operate. These guys are some slick bastards, I'll tell you.
Oh, you got to hand it to them. They are.
Wait. I have to say one thing. We are not being conspiracy theorists right now.
Yeah, you're a theorist.
If you read the history of the French or the Germans or the British or the Swiss, but especially in Spain too, England and France would get together, their kings, and say, let's have a war because our people are uprising. And they would have a war. They would have a war.
Enemy. What's this one here now? Read that, Alex. I can't see it from here.
It was not accidental. It was a carefully contrived occurrence. The international bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair here so that they might emerge as rulers of us all.
Representative Lewis
McFadden.
A great patriot congressman. He really was. Great patriot.
Just like Ron Paul is today.
Yeah, but I think McFadden, Charles Lindbergh was a great patriot congressman.
Oh, Charles Lindbergh was a great patriot.
Yeah,
he was.
And what happened to
his
kid?
His kid was kidnapped and Lewis McFadden was poisoned.
Yeah.
Oh, this is coincidence. Coincidence there.
That was the biggest story back then, was how Lindbergh's kid disappeared and then they never caught who did it.
In fact, Andrew Jackson knew Probably
they tried to kill him 20 times. He carried a pistol.
The greatest president we probably ever had, Andrew Jackson's sole issue when he ran for president was the central bank.
He called them, what did he call them, vipers?
Vipers.
He said,
I will rout you out.
That was what? But it's not taught anymore. Our whole Constitution is about keeping tyrants out of this country.
One other thing I want to...
You know, a big problem is people in this country, unfortunately, I've noticed, and even when I was in high school, they're not being taught where they came from. They're not being taught their history.
Of course. Hey, keep that up there. We want to read that.
Yeah, back that up. The Federal Reserve definitely caused the Great Depression by contracting the amount of currency in circulation by 1/3 from 1929 to 1933. They put the pressure on us, and then in 1933, when we finally had succumbed, we're flopping around begging, they said, you know what?
The raw deal.
You know what? Yeah. You know what? We had finally given up by 1933, and that was a Nobel Prize winning economist that said that, back when that wasn't totally corrupt. Oh, and now all
back when that wasn't.
Now all our economists, they've increased the prize.
Yeah, now they're CFR too. Anyway, Chris, we're having fun here, brother.
Yeah, well
we got the FBI stalking us, but we're in a good mood.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Hey, don't you think
don't
you think our producer's doing a fantastic job?
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, sure.
Fantastic show.
I want to tell those guys now. Me and you both coming here,
both doing
wound
a great
up,
job.
Jeff. I appreciate you having me on the program, and I can't wait to have you on some other media events we can't talk about.
All right. Anything else, Chris?
Well, are we out of time?
No, but we got some other callers have been holding.
I just want to make one last statement. When you were on campus interviewing the people,
yes,
that's you.
That was pretty sad.
Well, I interviewed around. Let me ask my producer. Oh, and something I need to stop and say. We've been trying. The producer of Jeff Davis Show taped the CFR meeting. You can see him on C-SPAN. It is recorded. It is not recorded in SP.
Okay.
So if they'll bring the tape in, I will show you the tape. But anybody that wants to watch C-SPAN, they've changed the channels. It's like channel 62 and something else now. I haven't been able to watch it as much lately. But the CFR is meeting every couple weeks now on C-SPAN. Why are they now kind of semi out in the open, in your opinion?
Because they've gotten too much exposure, and what they're doing now is through these public hearings on C-SPAN, they're soft-soaking it and saying, look, we're not secret, we're on C-SPAN. But that's not the real meeting.
That's a little play meeting.
Yeah, that's a play meeting. That's not really what's happening. It's just a little play thing, and they're introducing it as a harmless little organization.
And then you see documentaries from CNN to A&E to Discovery Channel, and they all say, it's not a big deal. There is a CFR. There are powerful men and people that are used to controlling billions of people. That was on A&E. We saw the documentary.
No big deal.
And there's not bad leaders. There's not good leaders.
No big deal.
There's just leaders. And
there's also Mammoth Caves turned into international biospheres. Here in this right-wing literature.
Yeah. Oh, the horrible. I mean, let me just one more time. I'm mad at you. How dare you? Let me tell you something.
Right-wing.
I'm going to tell you something. How dare you using Cave Country Tourist Guide?
Boy,
this is right-wing
extremist stuff.
Oh my.
Man, that's militia-type stuff.
I mean, this is just the most evil thing. I mean, look at that. Mammoth Cave National Park, International Biosphere, and World Heritage Site under UN control.
Isn't that
largest cave in the world?
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Isn't that one? That's just wonderful. They're going to take good care of them national parks.
You bet.
Just like they did, like they got us in the Korean conflict and the Vietnam War and starving people in Iraq. They're going to take good care of them parks for us.
And listen what
the slaves were forced to pay for.
Listen what the UN runs now, and what we've given them, but we still pay for it. We pay for these parks, but they just get to run them. Services and accommodations, handicap accessible facilities, motel motor lodge.
Oh yeah, they're gonna take good care.
I mean, it just goes. I mean, everything. They're taking over almost all our parks. And Clinton says, "Hey, you farmers that got this land in Utah, tell you what, 1.7 million acres is off limits. That clean burning coal can't be mined, and Chinese and Indonesian coal stocks double because they got the other clean burning coal."
That could be it, yeah.
And you know, that's the funny thing. The only place. So I can prove
that. Well, it's hard to keep up with all the shenanigans these guys are.
Well, there's so much money in screwing people.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got a bunch.
Chris, I appreciate your call, brother.
When you got a bunch of dupes that are bending over to anything and think it's stupid to care about their paycheck being siphoned off by some international banker, then it's imagine we're just laying open saying, "Please rape me."
Most of them don't even realize that it's happening.
Yep.
But that's okay. What do you call human? Oh, it's okay.
We're just animals.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares if we die? Who cares if the Chinese are
just roll over, baby?
Who cares if the Chinese are melting down baby fat so these Hollywood starlets can inject their lips with premium grade collagen?
I got a question for you. This is the deep question. If Dave Rockefeller called you up and said, Alex, we'd like to have you come on down to some of our trilateral commission meetings.
That ain't gonna happen.
Well, what if they did? You'd sell out, wouldn't you?
No,
you'd sell out.
No, let me explain.
You'd be on Nightline. This is Alex Jones, Nightline. We need to go to war for Zimbabwe, and we need these social. You'd be a good little agent for him, wouldn't you?
You let me counter that.
Yeah, you can counter. You can counter.
Let me tell you something about Alex Jones. In fact, let me have that serious shot in there so I can leer at the camera. Give me the other shot in there. I'm gonna tell him something. Okay, there's the Federal Reserve levy. Let me tell you something. Jeff's joking here.
Yeah.
Alex Jones has already let everybody know. I'm already monetarily not rich, but I'm a happy guy. I'm doing all right. I have a good time. I want to tell everybody something right now. I don't even claim to be 100% right, but I know one thing: you're getting lied to. They'll tell you one number in actual government documents, and the news will tell you something completely different. People are dying of chemical warfare from the Gulf War. Tens of thousands of people have been affected. I want you to talk about that later. And then now they're admitting that it is an illness, but for years we were right-wing conspiracy coaches talk about it. I'm a real human being, and I want to see people grow and become strong, and I don't want to weaken my fellow Americans, my fellow people here on Earth in order so that I can rule them. Okay, I want to become the best at something. I want to be the best at being an oil painter, the best at being at ranting and raving, the best father, the best. I mean, I want to marry a woman who's going to be the best mother. That's what I want, and I know. No, I'm not like these organized criminals.
You mean like what's up there? Now
yes.
Read that. Now read that one to us.
We're on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nation will accept the New World Order. David Rockefeller. And I wish we could play. They've got the tape in there. Let's play. Let's just play with audio. George Bush saying New World Order. It's not us talking about New World Order.
Well, they'll get to it. Let's get to some calls.
Yeah.
Did you defend yourself?
Well,
doesn't it really come down to whether somebody has a conscience or not?
Well, I don't.
These guys.
I don't get a thrill.
These guys are selling.
I don't get a thrill. And I've dated girls back when I lived in Dallas who only cared about money and everything, and only cared that I drove a really nice vehicle, and that I had, and that where I lived, I had that I lived in I had a couple rooms myself, my own, bath, I lived well, golf course a bit, and boats. That's all they care about. I learned those kind of women weren't good. I learned that the fake guy who just cares about his vehicle and his nice house, I learned those aren't nice people. It doesn't mean give up your freedom, give up your goods, don't care about possessions, but don't make that the only thing.
Oh, yeah, liberty and liberty means
being a human being and let not God do it himself. Let them be human.
But let me ask you, though, doesn't it really come down to conscience as to whether...
Yes,
I mean, these guys up there on Nightline...
They're putting our kids on Ritalin. They're fixing to approve
no, but I'm talking
Prozac
about
for 4 and
I'm
over.
Talking about
I know they're destroying generations.
No, I'm talking about the propaganda mass.
Yes, our government shipping in heroin.
Rather, Jennings... These guys, they're just selling out the nation.
They're petty sycophants that are into their own power.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you,
they're getting about $5 million a year.
I mean, Alex Jones likes to get on here and rant and rave and be seen. Let's face it, I like that, but I wouldn't for all the money in China, for all the
sell out.
No,
to
yeah,
them,
I would not sell anybody out.
Next, okay, well,
let's take some callers.
Let's go to Stephen.
Which is that America's government and America's corporations are now very active on an international scale, and legitimately this produces concern and reaction from a section of America that was isolationist back in World War II.
We have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
When George Bush started talking about a new world order.
Okay.
Now, isn't that just exactly what Hitler told the Germans? And is it Clinton? Now the terminology is no longer New World Order. When Clinton did his acceptance speech, I counted it. He said global community and global investment, that means global tax system, 20-something times.
International community, they use different terms.
And on that same tape is the CFR meeting that we tape, but it's recording the wrong speed. We might put it in fast forward and just let them see it run by and fast forward.
That's okay. Yeah. We got to get, we do have, Stephen, are you with us? Hello. I I guess line 2. I don't know.
Let's just take a call.
Yeah, take a call.
Yeah.
Is this Stephen?
This is.
Hi,
Thanks for holding so long.
Yeah, thanks for holding, brother.
Nothing to it. Listen, this will just take a second. I want to say, first of all, that I appreciate you guys' efforts to inform the general masses, and also that I share both of your frustrations. I do my part to keep as well informed as possible and feel a certain amount of strength from that. But I guess my only real question that I have for you, and then I'll just hang up and listen to what you guys say, is, although I manage to stay informed and whatnot, and I listen to guys like you guys, talk and read about things that say things the like, I really am looking for solutions. I wonder, really, is there anything I could do besides staying informed?
Hey, there's no easy solution to
there is.
To defeat Hitler. We lost hundreds of thousands.
We do or don't?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
We lost hundreds of thousands of.
We do or we don't?
Fantastic. To defeat Hitler, we lost hundreds of thousands of troops. Millions of people died in World War II to defeat Hitler. Nothing simple. You've got to stand up to tyranny, but start rebuking the university professors that say there is no bad leaders, there is no good leaders. When you see A&E or some cable channel put on documentaries where they spout that kind of relativist stuff, you call and you tell the cable company that you don't appreciate or do something. I'm not calling for sanctions here, but just start talking to your friends, start getting mad at people if they're apathetic. Talk to people, get information, study up. People all the time, I talk to them, and a lot of people know what's going on. Anybody who's been in business.
That's what you say.
Well, no, I mean.
Let me just chime in.
Some
First
people in
off,
business,
Stephen, let me just mention
some
something.
solutions.
Well, no, I want to mention your first comment. What makes you think we're so frustrated? Hell, Alex and I is having fun up here doing this, aren't we?
Well, I mean, it is. I have a lot of angst and a lot of anger because, and a lot of fear, and I don't fear for my life, but I fear for humanity.
Well, I've seen Alex get frustrated many times.
Yeah, it's a little.
Has even a modicum of intelligence.
Well, you have to understand something. They control the media almost completely. So the mass media.
That's a conspiracy. Corporations own it. Why would they want to control it?
You can forget about them. Here's some quick solutions. Start supporting organizations maybe like Jack McLam. If you're familiar with his Operation Vampire Killer, to educate local law enforcement.
Let me get a pen. Hold on.
Pardon me?
Go ahead and say that again.
Okay, Jack McLam.
All right.
He has an organization, Police Against the New World Order. He's a distinguished police chief out of Phoenix, Arizona. He started a program 17 years ago to educate local law enforcement.
About parasitic
military,
federal government.
About basically what's happening. That's one thing. Other little things. Try to fight any type of bond issuance. You keep in mind, these guys create more wealth and power by creating debt. So if it's school bonds, if it's whatever it is, new
demand tax cuts.
Yeah, demand tax cuts.
Here, I'll say something.
Let me just fight debt.
This is a
consider
solution.
homeschooling your kids. I mean, the last.
Look who won the spelling bee, and the NEA got.
Last thing you want to do.
Homeschoolers are
is
very
tie
intelligent.
your children to the state, to the enemy. Okay, because they're just brainwashing them with CFR textbooks.
Channel 1 beaming in,
Right.
second period in most schools, Channel 1 beams in, at least when I was in school, and I hear it's still there, they beam in this 15-minute newscast that tells you...
Let me just mention also...
Give away your rights.
Alex and I are both supporters of militias.
You got it.
I mean, don't be...
Now, I don't mean racist groups.
No, I'm talking
Those
about
aren't militias. Those are called Ku Klux Klan and White Pride. We hate them. My little sister's Korean adopted.
Well, they have their right to do their thing. As long, but let me just say, keep your powder dry. Fight for the Second Amendment. Fight for the right to keep and bear arms. Educate people. Educate yourself.
Sure, those are all things that I said initially.
Well, let me say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, well,
what can you do besides stay informed?
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now what you do. Jeff said, watch the bond elections, fight that. You've got to fight their dogma. And I say this all the time, and let me just get this out. It'll take about a minute and a half. All through human history, ask yourself how the Aztecs or the Mayans could sacrifice up to 10,000 men, women, and children in a single day. How could the ancient Romans sacrifice people? How could the Babylonians do that? How could they do this? It was because it was culturally accepted. The cultural, the group think, the group psychology was there. If the group does it, most people are followers and will follow. So they're using the media, the dominant broadcast media, not little bitty catch things like this or a little talk radio here, or a little internet here. I'm talking about mass broadcast to hundreds of millions of people a day. That's what has effect with one unified voice. We'll never get that. So we've got to start re-educating, deprogramming people that have been programmed by a society that has a cult-like mentality. We are in a false reality. And I don't mean and I don't mean that we're in a false dimension or some kooky stuff. I mean the Germans in Germany.
That the world's a lie.
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
Exactly. The Germans in Germany, most of them, thought it was just fine to kill Jews. We know that was wrong because we used to be Americans and have a base law that you didn't do stuff like that. Well, now they've devalued America. The textbooks tell us America's bad. America should go. Well, what are we going to replace it with? Germany, Britain, England, Japan? America's a good place compared to other countries, compared to Africa, compared to Eastern Europe where all the butchery goes on. That's why they keep attacking America and attacking its values and trying to set up in its place degenerate values. That the elite doesn't care about those values. All they care about is getting their minions to oppose the old system that thought it was wrong to kill people. So we are in a false psychology system. They are conditioning us like Pavlov's dogs to only worship money and then to be freely want to give up our money to the tax system so a group of corrupt interests can control it. So that's what you do. When the media whines and points to some little kid and says, tax cuts will hurt the children, you point back to that professor or you call into that media institution and you say, when Harry Truman cut taxes by 50%, not 1% like they want to do in the Congress right now, 50%, revenue doubled, the economy boomed.
How about let's just get rid of the IRS?
Hold on. Yeah,
you got to get rid of their enforcement.
But let me finish saying this. Then the liberals will say, but we don't want just out of control economic growth. That'll hurt the environment. They're teaching us just to lay down to people managing our lives. When, not a Republican, but when Jack Kennedy cut taxes by 20-something% and cut capital gains and other things, the revenue went up by 75%. When Ronald Reagan cut taxes, revenue went up 45%, but he doubled defense spending, and the Democrats increased their spending. If you get a raise at work, that doesn't mean you can go out and buy a car you can't afford. See, it's a lie. Your money, you getting more of your money will help the people around you because you'll go spend your money at stores. Hold on.
That's phony.
Let me just get this out. If you keep more of your money, you will be able to go and spend your money in stores, buy the services you want, put your kids through college, control where your kids go to college, put your kids in private school if you want. They don't want that. They want control of your life, and the money they give you is fake paper anyways.
And let me just
so refuse government across the board. Government's going to take over. It's not a question of that we need some government. Government is going to take over everything.
Going to.
It has. In 19 years, everything's going to be federal.
But let me just mention.
So think about it.
Tax cuts are not an answer.
No, we got to totally
the only real liberty we're going to get is if we get rid of the.
We got to keep our arms.
Their banking.
Don't let them disarm you like Hitler did the Jews, please.
Right. You got to cut their enforcement. That being the IRS. Work to eliminate property taxes. That's definitely one of the mechanisms that they use to enslave us. Yeah. How many people's homes?
You know, we're fighting
every
people.
Month.
Hey, we're fighting people like the Nazis, Jeff. That's why I'm spazzing out in here.
Okay, let's read that up there.
Abolish fractional reserve banking as the debt is paid off. The reserve requirements of all the banks and the financial institutions would be raised proportionally at the same time. That monitor's across the room 20 feet away.
Yeah, it's hard,
well, my eagle vision can handle it. Yeah. But anyways, listen, people, we are maniacs. It takes people that are different to go against the norm when all the sheep are running into the slave pens where the Judas priest is slaughtering your asses. Okay? We're trying
baby.
Yeah, we're trying to shake you, wake you up.
And I think this show is fitting, what is it, Scott? Stephen, I'm sorry, Stephen. I think the show is fitting that this is just 3 days after their little show on July 4th, you know, where they can, you know, the best slave is one that actually believes he's free.
Did you see the fireworks display? It was the worst one I've ever seen in living in.
No, but do you agree that the best slave is the one that actually believes he's free?
I'm not knocking the fireworks displays.
I'm not talking about.
But it was terrible. They get worse and worse and smaller and little bitty fireworks each year.
So they're giving the slaves less fireworks.
Yeah. Listen, well, just a small thought, and then the Austro-American statesman, said openly in there, Jeff. Guess what it said? It said that it was the best ever.
Yeah. Well, the best slave is the one that actually believes he's free, Stephen. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, all the things that you guys have said, I've kept in mind, and you're really telling Noah about the flood on all this stuff. You keep using examples of why.
Well, everybody out there isn't Noah, my friend. Everybody out there isn't like you.
Let me finish the question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Because I never have gotten a chance to.
I'm sorry.
The entire question is, and it's a real simple one, is what is the solution? What can we do besides be informed, make other people informed, and vote? There has been an absolute shift of power to the other side.
Okay, let me answer briefly.
Really, of some sort of revolution, which is never going to happen.
Let me ask you something, Steve.
The pendulum going to swing to that side.
Let me just mention to you, Steve. First off, I for one believe voting is all but out.
We've got to fight their propaganda, man to man, person to person. Get in cells, get in groups.
That's really about all you can do right now. Is inform yourself, try to get others informed, keep your powder dry, support groups that are true patriots.
Yeah, we're Jews inside
and that's
Germany.
That's about all we can do.
We're Jews inside Germany.
At this time.
Hey, we're Christians.
Time.
We're Christians inside Rome when Nero's running things. We're that Inca princess fixing to be sacrificed in southern Mexico.
At this time, I would say that's the bulk of all we can do.
Yeah, I mean
Wouldn't you say that's really at this time?
We're in Rome. We are in Rome.
Yeah, we're in Rome. They've got the sports going just like they had the gladiators. They let the slaves entertain themselves on vacations and trips, and they give them fireworks on July 4th. They give them the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Oilers. You know, they're the same.
And we watch football games too, but we still can think about politics.
All right, we know we understand what the game's being played on.
I mean, I'm not saying don't watch sports, don't take your date out, don't go see. I mean, I do stuff like that. I'm saying people can still see the lies. I mean, it doesn't make sense to let the federal government control your local police force. There's no reason to do that.
We have to have an entire show, and I'll probably do that within this next month on just solutions.
That would be great.
Okay, you got it. I'm going to do it.
Right.
Alex,
Listen,
I want your help on this.
And I
give us a call in the comment line if you have any other solutions that we might use.
Yeah, and if we could, your producer can put up my comment line too.
And we'll get together and we'll have a show on solutions.
Great. Well, I appreciate
and organizations that I believe that are fighting for solutions. I like John Trockman's Militia Montana. I like Jack McLamb's Operation Vampire Killer. There are groups out there that are actually doing things, and it's working.
International Rights.
Foundation. What McClam is doing is absolutely key.
Educating the enforcers.
Go up to police in a nice way, dress nice. When you see them at a store, say, "Officer, please stand up for people's individual rights," because a lot of cops, I've read their literature, they know what's going on. They are very, very frightened by it.
And I'll tell you something else, Stephen, too. Stay out of a lot of these mainstream churches, because if you understand how the slave masters work, they themselves know that a lot of people are getting frustrated by politics and the economy and all of this kind of thing. So what they've had to do is they've had to find another forum for them, and that being organized religion. There's no question that the World Council of Churches and all.
Religion's a great way to inject that stuff right into the vein.
What they are, it's the Obey Caesar church.
Well, let's get this straight. It's not just Christian churches.
It's all of it.
It's environmentalism is a religion.
All of it. It's all.
They do nothing for the environment. These environmentalists don't even know where the paychecks come from. They come from international bankers.
It's everything.
Rockefeller set up all the environmentalist movements in this country 100 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
As an excuse to take private property.
In fact, they're funding the World Wildlife Fund, the National Sierra
I know
Fund.
you know. I'm talking about
all
them.
these foundations and things. So look, Alex was right on way back though. There is anybody that thinks there's an easy solution to this problem just doesn't understand the problem. So
they've got lower level minions that they allow to steal from us at all levels. They're starting to employ criminals.
In fact, let me tie one in. They're actually now, I've had this confirmed, they're actually now using ex-gang members.
Of course, just like Hitler.
And they're saying
just like Hitler, the stormtroopers
and they're
were
saying
street thugs.
to them, listen, they're saying to them, either we're going to put you in prison or we're going to give you a $30,000 a year job working for the VATF. Throw them out as sandbags to go in and raid and ransack people's homes. Isn't that great? They get the lowest riffraff in the community that doesn't have any respect for anybody's property.
I want police to start.
Use them as the sandbag.
I want to say something to the police officers out there. Don't you be afraid of losing your little job, because I'm putting my life on the line, officer, just like you do to supposedly protect us. I know this isn't an officer on the phone, but officers out there. You need to get out there. You need to start talking back to these superiors. You need to start refusing. You need to get together and form groups that are against the government running things. Federal government.
I don't understand why you think that would work. Why would they give up their power when we already have?
Who's that? Who are you talking about?
Government. I mean, why would we go up
let me tell you,
Listen, you know why the
conspirators.
hold on.
Wait a minute. The
you know why
conspirators are
communism finally pretty much fell in Russia? It pretty much fell in.
Come on
well,
now.
it's still organized crime runs it there. I know that, but a new form of crime is there. It's because the Russian troops.
That whole thing was phony.
I know, but the Russian troops would not fire on their own citizens. Okay, I'm wrong camera. That's the only thing that we got counting for us is that finally our police will start waking up and we'll say, wait a minute, and we'll say, wait a minute, the Supreme Court just ruled this is unconstitutional.
You have a lot more faith in humanity than I do. Then.
Well, they're expendable. Either they wake up and realize how they're being
Germany
used.
didn't fall because of that.
Man,
they're going to eat this sucker too, just like all of them.
All I'm doing is the last act of defiance as we are entered totally into the last phases of a decline of civilization here. And that's what's happening. I mean, people just don't care what happens to other people now.
Keep in mind, they're going to eat this sucker too.
Yeah, see, so I've got to oppose
We got to move to another. Hey, appreciate your call, Stephen.
Yeah, let's take a few more calls.
Oh, yeah, we got, now I'll have you have a closing statement. Okay, next caller, you're on the air. This is, let's go to...
we don't know.
Hello,
caller on there.
To Matt. Maybe Matt?
Hey, how's it going?
Is this Matt?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Matt.
How's it going?
Good.
I don't know if you guys have ever touched on this, but what do you think about the 3 major car companies and the black box jazz? Do you know what I'm talking about?
What exactly? Well, they're Mercedes-Benz and Saab and Volvo and other groups are planning, and then now GM to put smart chips in your cars that will have smart highways that are monitored by the federal highway system. And Carol Browner wants special checkpoints because even though cars are getting catalytic converters on them, really good ones that screen out 90-something% of the particulates, and the environment's actually getting better, she said in a news conference like 20-something times that our children are getting sick, not because they're eating hamburgers all day and sitting on the couch, but because there's more particulates in the air, even though the particulates have actually gone down. So what they want is Carol Browner wants to totally take your right to drive away.
Is that
and
what
charge you a bunch of taxes when you can?
Matt, is that what you're referring to as the chips being...
No drive days,
well,
you name it.
You see, like, the old spy movies where, like, the little blip on the screen is, like, so they can track you.
Well, they're putting that in the cars.
Let me add something to all this.
Some of the new rent cars say that on the window.
Let me just add something to all this, if this is what you're referring to. Do you remember 10, 12 years ago when Reagan was the agent at the time, that we had this big the Soviet threat. Remember that? And they wanted to build this huge SDI system.
Oh, yeah.
They were going to protect us from the Soviet threat. Remember that? All these satellites and computers up in the air, over 35,000 pieces of satellite up in the air, supposedly to protect ourselves from the Soviet threat, right? Which never existed. It was an enemy-created thing. But now that the so-called threat is over with, guess what you think? What do you think they're going to use that for?
They're already admitting they're going to.
Oh yeah.
But Jeff, it's not to monitor. Hold on.
Yes, it is. Spying on us.
I know, but they're telling us it's not to monitor the people. They're only going to start monitoring the national parks for the environment. See, everything's for the environment or for the children.
It's kind of ironic though that they're installing chips in new cars. In fact, a new rental car that my friend of mine just had right on the window. It stated, "This car is tracked by global positioning satellite."
And in the last 3 minutes, I want to say just one thing real
Go
fast.
ahead. Yeah, I appreciate your call, Steve. Matt, I want to give him an opportunity to have a closing statement. I appreciate it, brother. Give us a call next week.
Well, real fast, I want to make one point
okay,
and then a quick closing
statement.
Well,
it's got to be real quick. We got a minute.
Sure, or 2 minutes. What I wanted to say is one quick example of how the scams run. Let's sit here and let's talk about this. When my car got stolen in Dallas, the police didn't even come out because it's a class 3 misdemeanor. That's a ticketable offense. Okay, you get a ticket in Dallas and in most other major cities in the country. Somebody steals your car. If your car gets broken into, the police don't come. Okay, and it's not their fault. It's the bureaucrats that control them. But they're going to put smart chips in the cars because so many cars are being stolen. We need to have chips to track them. They're not. When they put these chips in the cars, what they're already doing, they're never going to. That satellite's not going to be diverted from its orbit to follow where that criminal has that car. See, they let the criminals
Supposedly
out.
the criminals should be in jail.
Yeah, see, it's a big scam.
Yeah,
well, listen.
No, go ahead.
Jeff, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, go ahead. You got a final closing comment?
Yeah, guys, listen, I'm a maniac. I'm a maniac for freedom. It takes, what is a radical? Look in your dictionary. It's somebody that differs from the norm, the mainstay of society. And the mainstay of society is deal with China. We have to deal with China, even though they've killed 30 million of their people, 20 million are in slave labor camps. They're selling political dissidents organs on the world market. They're out of control. Okay, we're dealing with the likes of Hitler right now. And professors and people can make excuses all day. We've got to stand up. We've got to do something now.
That's
all I have to say.
Let me just mention one thing quickly here. Pete, we've been talking about the China labor camps. Do you realize we've got the largest prison population right here?
Yes.
And there's all kinds of political prisoners in there. So
Per capita, we have
let
the
me just
largest.
mention
Per
that.
capita.
Let me just mention that. So instead of being diverted all the time to China, we better look at what's happening right
I
here.
agree.
Okay.
But we
That's
can.
it, Alex. We're out of time. I appreciate Alex Jones.
Yeah, I'll see you this Wednesday with Exposing Mass Media from 7 to 8:30
Yes,
p.m.
and then Thursday. And I appreciate y'all. God bless you.
Look who we got here. Somebody that we haven't seen in about 20 years is
Hello there.
Late
How
and great.
Good to see you.
George Humphrey.
Yes. Oh my goodness! I see who it is. Yes.
Tell us what you've been up to.
Oh my goodness! Isn't this a great day?
Yes.
It is amazing.
Tell us why you're here. Hurry, because it's my Facebook.
My heart is heavy for the world, but my heart is also happy for the good people here. We need to get back to work, and we need to realize that this cure, it's not a cure, it's not about a virus, it's about political control. And we are free and sovereign, and we have the choice to either be slaves or to be free. I choose to be free, yes.
Well, guess what I did? I bought about $20,000 worth of editing equipment and hired some people to put all the tapes on for the last 25 years, and you're on there. So I want you to, and I'm going to plug my YouTube channel.
Okay, great.
Mike Hanson
Of course,
Archives,
of course.
Hanson Archives, and Waco Archives.
I didn't recognize you at the start.
Okay, so I need you to say, this is George Humphrey, and I love Mike Hanson Archives.
This is George Humphrey, and this guy is awesome. Mike Hanson, the Mike Hanson Archives. Check it out.
You're on there. We just put about 3 tapes of you on there. And you had slick black hair then.
Now it's all dyed.
All right. God bless y'all. We'll see you in a minute.
Stay tuned right here for more classics on this channel here, Hanson Archives. But to fund this station, I'm offering, if you send us $25, we'll send you a signed copy of Bohemian Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. It was forwarded by Tex Mars that just recently passed away. Also, Alex Jones has a chapter in here. And you know that's good. There's us in our younger days. But on the address that you see, send us $25 and we will send you a signed copy, or give us a call at 830-672-3089, and you can put it on a credit card. We'll send it right out. But that's what we need to help fund this channel, folks. So help us get all the classics uploaded to YouTube. We got hundreds and hundreds of old Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a bunch of other patriots that we need to upload. About 25-year-old tapes.
Come on, anybody want to come up here? All right, that's it. All right, who wants to lead it? Let Gene go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. All right. God bless the Republic